Morning, everyone. It's a little after 9:33, I guess. We'll call the meeting to order. And this is the February 2nd workshop, Surtax Oversight Board. This sounds a little loud. How do you address that? Rainer? That better? How's that? Testing. We apparently have new microphones today. We have by the way, this is a workshop. There'll be no votes taken today. We have 5 present and 1 calling in. Anthea is going to call in. We aren't required to have a quorum anyway.
Yeah, I'm here. Good morning, everybody.
I guess excused absences for the others. I'm sorry Alan's not here because we're going to spend some time on signalization, which has been one of his pet peeves. Huh? That's next week? Oh, I thought it was today. All right, I stand corrected. Would you like this? Roll call, please.
Good morning, everybody. Douglas Coolman.
Here.
Bill Allen.
Here.
Bill Allen. Present, thank you. Ronald Frazier. Debbie Madden.
Here.
Anthea Pennant-Wallace is on Zoom. Shay Smith,
Here.
Alan Hooper, and Alejandro Munoz will be absent today. Thank you.
I'm here. Good morning.
Okay. We have, I guess, 5 presentations to start with? And we're going to begin with the Broward County Transportation Department.
Good morning. I'm really glad to be here today and see you all again. And to start things off, we have a video that kind of highlights what we were able to accomplish this year.
A new light rail could have you speeding above traffic from Fort Lauderdale Airport to Port Everglades.
We showed the rendering to Susan Rowley and her family.
Having spent a lot of time in Chicago and knowing how important it is to get around in traffic, I should think that would be very helpful.
Just go right there. Wouldn't be any side trips or worrying about where to go next.
South Florida, or Happy Freedom Day, as you see there on the back of the bus.
The future begins with Broward County Transit, powered by Primo.
The bottom line is that, we had a very really good year despite some very high hurdles that we had to overcome earlier in the year. And it just goes to show you the resiliency of our organization in terms of making sure that we're able to deliver on our commitment to our riders. Okay, so basically, we accommodate about 14 million rides a year. And we have about 1.1 million hours of service that we run a year, and about 14 million miles around the county. We have 267 buses that leave our system every day to meet our riders. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the audio right now, but I'm gonna do my best to say things here. So we have about 1,250 employees that represent BCT, and in the room I have several of them. I will introduce them in a little bit, but that's how we keep the magic going here. Our ridership this year, we talked about pre-pandemic ridership, and as we all know, commuting patterns, a lot of things changed during the pandemic and post-pandemic, and we're not immune to some of those impacts and life choices and changes that people have decided to make as a result of being on the other side of it. And so when you look at national averages for ridership return, you'll see that across the country, you'll see about a 73 to 79% increase. Sorry, not 73 to 79% increase, but 73 to 79% portion of the pre-pandemic ridership has come back. In our case, we're at 93%. And we're particularly proud of that because not only are we at 93%, we're primarily a bus agency. And from that, across the country, they're at about 81%. So our ridership year to date through June is roughly 19 million. And our paratransit service also has been very strong. We have about 42 rides that have been taken with our Ridership Connect programs. And we have a really strong ridership with our community shuttles at almost 1 million.
Lori, I have a question. Does the community shuttle numbers in this ridership?
I'm sorry?
Are the community shuttle numbers in this ridership?
Yes, it's all.
Number two, I just want to give a congratulations, seeing that you hired, what, 90%? Now you got 90% of your drivers back. That's incredible based on where you were.
Yeah.
And congratulations to that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so we are charging toward a greener future, and we take that mandate very seriously. And so far this year, we've purchased 2 coach buses, and this is a highlight. We've purchased other electric buses this year, but we want to highlight the coach buses because why that's important is these are our express service buses. They go from parking ride lots directly into downtown Miami. And those buses are kind of like your Greyhound buses. So they're unique in terms of the comfort level, and it's an elevated experience on those buses for sure. And so we now have 2 of them in our fleet. In addition, we put in 4 new electric charging stations at our Ravenswood facility. We've got 297 paratransit vehicles that are propane fuel. And why that is important is not only are we creating a greener future, there's about a 23 reduction in emissions from propane versus traditional other carbon fuels. And basically, we're really proud of that. And you'll see later why that's important for this year and how we were recognized for that service. And so I misspoke. It's 297 paratransit vehicles.
Corey, a question. Did you get our issues resolved with the electric buses where there were some problems with the manufacturing, 1? And 2, now that we have propane and electric, what's our goal and are we going, which way are we going?
Which way we're going? So that's a very good question, and thank you for asking it. So just for awareness, in the industry, we had 3 electric bus providers. We are now down to 2. The one that we did our purchase with for our fixed service fleet, not these coach buses, was with a company called Proterra. Proterra declared bankruptcy toward the end of last year, beginning of this year, and they have divested themselves and set up another company, not set up, but sold their electric bus service to another company called Phoenix. Phoenix is new in the industry, doesn't have a lot of experience with electric buses. To be fair, this is not our most shiny moment when it comes to electric buses. The issue has been that during this bankruptcy period, the parts and the supplies that we've needed to keep these buses running are just simply not available. And unfortunately, we're in this bankruptcy proceeding right now. None of the commitments that were supposed to be made that were agreed upon as part of the bankruptcy commitments have been made. We used to have resources physically here from Proterra on site to help us with issues that has completely evaporated. And so we're working with our legal counsel to see what our options are. In addition, that's the legal route. We are trying to solve this ourselves. One of the things that we're also doing is we've reached out to our fellow colleagues in the industry, particularly in the state of Florida, who are also suffering through the same process, and work to develop a consortium of buyers for parts. So what's interesting is because Proterra, this is my belief anyway, because Proterra was new to the market, they chose to use a lot of suppliers, downstream suppliers that were untraditional, and we're not used to the volume of procurements that some of the other suppliers were. So not only are we not able to rely on Proterra, Phoenix to service our buses, we don't even have some of the parts that we need, critical parts we can't get, because they chose to use vendors that are specialized vendors that could support their particular bus parts. So unfortunately for us, we're not in the best place, and I don't want to mislead you to say it's roses with a green. We are also looking at engineering solutions to figure out if there's a way that we can come up with some solutions for some of the challenges we have with our electric fleet. We are looking at a strategy, and we'll be bringing that forward for additional conversations so that we can perhaps diversify our fleet. But our commission agreed to 100% electric buses. We understand that that's our mission. Right now, we're challenged to get there, but we're going to try to figure out a way to either diversify our fleet or look to a way to get to 100% electric. It is very difficult, and everyone in the industry is in the same boat in terms of the electric fleet reliability.
How many of these electric buses by this particular vendor do we have?
All of our electric buses are from the vendors, except for the 2 that I mentioned earlier.
So how many total is that?
We've got about 40 of them. A little
40?
bit, yeah.
So we have 40 buses in the fleet that are
in various stages of reliability and not very reliable.
It's a big problem.
It is a big problem.
Who's working on that? Maybe that's not in our purview, but since we spent surtax dollars, I assume to buy them.
So Bob Ernst, who's a new hire with us, he's been here about 2 months. Bob is in charge of our fleet, both the bus and non-revenue vehicles for the county.
Maybe that's something you can come back to at a future meeting, since we're.
Yeah, we would be happy to come back and talk about this. I wish I could tell you that this is a good news story. It simply isn't. And, as we were doing research with other agencies across the country, I don't know that the industry in general is ready to do 100% electric. I don't know that we're there.
are the other sources of fuel an option so that maybe we should be going with the gas?
So there are a lot of other options, but they're not electric. So, we have lower fuel emissions. So we have low diesel, which we purchase now or had been purchasing for a while, low emission diesel. There's also fuel cells, which are an option. There's hybrid vehicles, there's propane. So there are other options out there that are greener, but they're not electric.
So of our total bus, we have 40 of these in questionable.
So about 10% of our fleet right now, about 10% of our fleet.
What's our total number of buses?
We're at about 441, roughly.
441.
Mm-hmm. So it's about 10% of our fleet.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We have about 950 employees that have gone through behavioral changing training. And so if you can imagine our ridership, some of them are challenged with various levels of societal challenges, right? And some of those challenges are related to mental health. And so we see a lot of that in our environment. And so one of the things that happens is that sometimes people that are suffering from those kinds of issues can be somewhat aggressive with our bus operators. And so one of the things that we can't do is we can't have an escalation of those incidents because they can turn very badly for our passengers as well as our employees. And because we recognize that, we can play a role in reducing the impacts, we have set up some training for our workforce so that they can identify people who may be suffering from some kind of mental health crisis or situation. And we've given them the tools, not that they're going to be trained sociologists or social workers or psychologists, but they're at least trained to de-escalate the situation and to bring the temperature down to some level to deal with it, as well as call for help in the event that something is pretty serious that someone needs some help with. And so we've run about 90% of our, a little more than 80%, I would say, of our workforce through this training, but about 90% of our bus operators have been through the training. Like I said, we also have put in a new bus wash at our Copen's bus garage. And so you should see that our buses are a little cleaner now, that we have this bus garage up and running, really excited about that. We also, in terms of elevating our customer experience, we have seen an increase in our paratransit ridership. We have seen about a 16% in that ridership. We've also seen an increase in our Riders' Choice program. That program is kind of like our on-demand service for paratransit riders. It allows us to service someone that doesn't need the full service that we provide with our general paratransit vehicles, are very more independent state, and it allows us the opportunity to take them to their ride. They can make those appointments the day of, and we've made some changes to that service. And as a result, we have seen about a 38% increase in that service. One of the changes that we made was that we extended the distance that our service will take people, and that has increased the ridership. The other thing is that we have our Lace Shift Connect service. Now, this service is 100% paid for by our Surtax money. And this is one of those services that we're really excited to bring to the community, because this is like the opportunity for people who work on the third shift, or who work in the hospitality industry, or who potentially work in a hospital. They don't have a car, but they need to get to their job. And because our service stops around midnight-ish, right? You can't get sometimes to where you need to go. And sometimes those connections won't allow you to get home either. And so this service gives people an opportunity to work their normal shift, and they can have almost a one-seat ride from their jobs home in a safe environment. And so our county commissioners, listen to an ask of us. And so one of the things that was helpful here is no surprises, right? If you ask for feedback and listen to the feedback and you act on the feedback with
Corey, oops. Question on that subsidy going from $15 to $30. I mean, what does it cost to provide the service? And is the subsidy covering all of it, or the patron use? What's the relationship between, what's the cost of the service? And does the person pay anything, or is all subsidized by Surtax?
No, it's not 100% surtax subsidized. So we give them a certain portion of it, and then they have to pay a little bit too.
If you could refresh our memory exactly how this service works. Is it on call, or fewer buses or transportation vehicles stopping by certain locations? Could you refresh our memory on that, please?
So this is a taxi service.
Okay.
That
Like Uber.
Yeah, kind of like Uber. And what ends up happening is that the rider can call and get that service. They have to be eligible, right? We have a process. You just can't call a taxi and then have us pay for it. But we do have a process to screen those, an application process, and then once they're in the program, they can use it. Thanks for your question. Okay. And so one of the other things that we believe strongly that we have a responsibility to is to make sure that we're strong community partners. And so Career Source, which is an organization that serves to help people find jobs, reached out to us and asked us to support a job fair that they were having. And so we were able to support the job fair by providing express service from some of our low income, high unemployment communities in our prosperity zones or prosperity zip codes to the job fair, which was at the convention center. As part of that job fair, we were able to support about 215 job seekers that otherwise may not have been able to get to the job fair to go there. And so overall, they had about 1,400 or so people, or 1,200 or so people that attended. At the end of the day, what was Tim, who was there that day, he actually was able to talk to one of the job seekers. And the person said to him, I lost my job a couple of days ago. I don't have a car. And if this service hadn't been there, I probably would not have been able to get to the job fair because I really don't have the money to go. And so it's these moments that, it really shines a light on the value that our organization provides to the overall community in terms of their life circumstances. The other thing that it's no secret, we do have a housing crisis here in Broward County when it comes to affordable housing. And sometimes that ends up with people being unhoused or temporarily in situations where they have no home to go to. And where they end up sometimes when they don't have a place to go is in our facility. And I'm sure you have seen it as you drive around the county. People are in the bus shelters. People tend to flock to our terminal locations. So this is our Broward Central Terminal, which is in Fort Lauderdale, right off of Broward Boulevard. And we did have a challenge with the homeless starting to infiltrate the area, use the area for shelter. And we reached out to our colleagues in Broward County, the Health and Human Services Department, and asked for help. And they answered the mail. They came through for us in a big way. And the picture there shows the before and after. There was the person that was living there. And what we did was we brought in a very humane and deliberate way a bunch of resources to help people who are living there find other alternatives to being in the terminal. And so one of the things we did was we housed their belongings. So we set up a way where we could take their belongings and house them for them. And then we also brought in medical resources to look at people to see if they were having any medical crisis that needed help on that day. And we were able to move people also who needed medical attention that was taken care of. We also brought in a homeless task force. We had showers, we had things there that would help people. And we also found people that were suffering from some addictions that we were able to move over to our BARC facility. So overall, this was a win from the perspective that we were able to clean up the area, we were able to provide alternatives to living in that environment to people. And we have taken that practice and we've moved it around the county to different transit centers that we have. And it's an ongoing effort. We are working with our Health and Human Services Department to set up a team that will be dedicated also to working with the people who are in bus shelters. But overall, we've serviced and made contacts of over 1,000 people where we've been able to try to change their circumstances or have changed their circumstances. Because quite frankly, not everybody that gets the help wants the help or takes the help. And so that's one of the challenges, as we all know, with these types of programs. Okay, this is another example of our efforts in the community. As you can imagine, we have people that get on our buses that are sometimes suffering from some kind of dementia or Alzheimer crisis, right? And so we have had experiences where people who have needed help didn't know where they were, who they were in some cases. We've been able to help them. And so on this slide are some of our employees that have gone above and beyond to help our people that show up on our system. We had a young teenager who had holes in his sneakers. Our staff saw it and they acted and they brought him new sneakers. We had another situation where we had an elderly gentleman who didn't know where he was, and we were able to get him help. And so these are the things that our workforce does that, goes beyond, driving that bus. Yeah, that's the easy part of our job. But the part that is exceptionally exciting is the care and concern that we give to the general population that shows up on our system. The other thing is that we're moving forward with our comprehensive operational analysis. This is an effort that we've talked about this before, that we do roughly every 5 years or so. We take a look at a very critical look at our existing system, and we try to figure out if there are any things that we need to do to make it better. And we are in the middle of that activity now. And so what we have found so far is that some of our system would benefit from some drastic changes, anywhere from us changing our route structure, which will be part of the final results of the study, to even allowing more rideshare opportunities in our system or on-demand services in our system too. So please stay tuned. Once we have it done, I would love to come back to present our findings to you. But we're looking holistically at how we can make our system more efficient, make it more conducive to the travel patterns of today. We are operating on travel patterns pre-COVID for the most part. And we have new information about where people want to go, how they want to know how to go. And we also have seen a change in demand and origin and destination changes also in our community, and we are seeing our community grow. So all these factors are things that we are looking at as part of the overall comprehensive analysis. This is the Copens facility. We've talked about this before. We are very proud of the fact that we have completed the design development process, and we're moving on to finalizing the design and looking forward to sometime next year in 25 breaking ground. Also, as you know, we have with the Primo program, we're adding additional service to our territory. And that additional service is multimodal, right? So we're adding light rail, we're adding commuter rail, We're adding bus rapid transit. As you know, we don't operate those right now. And so we are bringing on resources to help us meet that challenge. Some of those resources are coming to us through consulting services. The other part of it is reorganized to reflect the change in our organization to come. We're very hyper-focused on safety. We are hyper-focused on our customer experience. And so those changes are reflected in our new organization structure. And so the way we're set up in these key functional areas are, operations, customer experience, administration, finance, our finance department, given all the Surtax money and additional grants that we have coming in, we've needed to restructure that so that we can be prepared to take on those responsibilities. We also have a strong obligation as we move forward, not only with the comprehensive operational analysis, but also as Primo comes on board, there's a different level of outreach and marketing and advertising that we're going to have to do to attract passengers and new riders and choice riders to our system. So we've elevated some of those areas to address that. And so, as you mentioned earlier, Doug, we have seen a significant decrease in our vacancy rate. And I think you may have heard this before, but it was very difficult for us to hire people for bus operators. That was like, we were bringing in sometimes classes of less than 12 people. We graduated our largest class this year of 50 plus people, and we're super excited about that. The other thing is that we are seeing a better retention rate of our operators. We're only seeing about 4.6 attrition rate on a monthly basis, and that is largely because of people who are retiring. Not everybody makes it or wants to do this forever, and so that's part of that 4.6. But the biggest element to this change was the new contract that we were able to negotiate with our union, and we brought our wages up to be more competitive. And in the process of bringing them up to be more competitive, we have had a tremendous success in our hiring. And so we're really excited to have brought those numbers down. So by the end of November, I believe we should be have a vacancy of operators at about 13. And that's down from over 100. So now Primo, you've seen the Primo plan. This is where we're bringing those 200 miles of new transit service to bear. And at the end of the day, as a reminder, we're looking to have roughly a ridership of 23 million on that new transit service. We're also going to offer this a high premium service. Some of it's just more frequent. Some of it's different from a vehicle and equipment perspective. And we're also bringing in new intelligent systems in terms of being able to navigate on the roads with the goal of us having priority signalization for our bus service. And then lastly, as we bring these new services to bear, we want to make sure that we are seamlessly integrated into the community and that we are bringing in architectural elements that are attractive and aesthetically pleasing to the community, and that we don't bring in things that would be a scar on the community. And so I'm super excited to share this piece with you. So we came to you last year this time. We only had the commuter rail project that was in the conceptual phase of development. And I'm glad and very proud to say now that we have 3 projects that are actually up and running in the delivery phase. And those are the commuter rail project, the Oakland Park Boulevard bus rapid transit, and our light rail airport seaport convention center connector. The first project is Broward Commuter Rail South project. That's the one bringing 11 miles of new commuter rail service to Broward County. We've been working very closely with our colleagues in Miami-Dade, and we will have 3 stations there: Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale Airport, and we'll also have a station at Broward South, or Broward Health rather, just in South Lauderdale. We are right now, we've completed our NEPA analysis, our environmental analysis. So that's a National Environmental Protection Act that tells us the process that we have to follow to get FTA funding, Federal Transit Administrative funding. And so we have just completed that process. And now we are out right now seeking public input on our environmental analysis. Should we, we don't anticipate any real challenges, but assuming that, everything goes well there, the FTA has a period of time that they'll evaluate that feedback from the public, as well as our analysis that's now complete. And we're looking to being able to have our finding of no significant impact, affectionately called FONSI, by October of this year. What that means is that we can now formally apply for federal funds to support our project. As you may recall, this is one of the projects where we're looking at, this is true for all of Primo, but we're looking for a 50% match from the federal government for support on all of our projects. And we'll be able to go for about $150 million from the feds. We already have a $73 million commitment from the state, and then we have our local match of roughly $75 million. The other project is Oakland Park Boulevard. This one is 100% paid for by Surtax. And so we're super excited about this one. This one is also in the project development and environmental stage. We are moving very quickly through that process. We have been asked by the Florida Department of Transportation for a lane repurposing study on Oakland Park Boulevard. As you know, when we're looking to put bus rapid transit on a corridor, we're looking to have exclusive traffic lanes where we can. We're also looking to having prioritization at the signals. These, the BRT service has stations at about a mile apart, and we don't stop at potentially at every corner, every bus stop. It's just very much a streamlined service that runs faster when it has exclusive traffic lanes.
Corey, how many cities or what percentage of our cities does this system service?
What percentage of
our cities is this system service? And that's obviously not one city. How many cities?
For this, it goes through Plantation, Oakland Park,
Fort Lauderdale,
Sunrise, and Lauderdale, and Wilton Manors.
and Fort Lauderdale, right?
I'm sorry.
And Fort Lauderdale or no?
Well, the BRT will go to Fort Lauderdale, and another, not this one. This
Okay.
is strictly on Oakland Park
All right.
Boulevard.
Thank you.
And then the last one is Airport Seaport Connector. This one is kind of our marquee project. Really exciting. It's about 3.5 miles of elevated rail service that will bring from the airport to the convention center. So it'll connect Airport, Seaport, and Convention Center. Right now, we have a RFP out on the street seeking support for our project development and our preliminary engineering and environmental, and our project development environmental is the name, the PD&E is the name of where we are in that phase. But that is what we're doing at this point in time to advance this project. You may recall this is about $1 billion effort. It's very important for this particular effort that we make sure that we follow all the federal requirements, because we're looking for such a substantial commitment from the federal government on this project. And so please stay tuned on this one. We expect those proposals to be in soon. And then we expect those firms to be on board late this year, early next year.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Have you picked a cognizant agency at the federal level for this project?
Our agency is a federal transportation.
It'll be FTA. I think it was highway, federal highway, the previous environmental review and NIMPA process 10 years ago that got stopped at the end because of no local funding commitment. Is that the basis for going forward on the new study?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the the study from 10 years ago. What I can tell you is that the process that we are following now is the one that's set out from the Federal Transit Administration. Because it's in service, going to be light rail service. That's the agency that we go after the funds, or more than likely to get funding from. The Federal Highway Administration wouldn't likely fund this project, but the FTA is the one that we believe will fund it.
And what's the timeline on completing the environmental or the project design and the environmental review?
We're looking at probably anywhere between a year to two, and it depends on what we find when we do the environmental analysis. Our hope is that, so there's 3 levels of environmental analysis that we can have. We can have what's called a CE, categorical exclusion. We can have an EA, environmental assessment, or we can have an environmental impact statement, which is longer. All of them have different the commuter rail project that I just mentioned, we got an EA, environmental assessment, on that. That takes about a year. And for that to get approved. In this case, there is what's called an analysis of past usage on the site. And sometimes, depending on what those past usages are, that can tip the scale of whether you're in the environmental assessment or an environmental impact statement. If we go through the environmental impact statement, that's just going to take longer.
Well, going back to other projects in that vicinity, and we're going to hear more later, I think, on the bypass road, which is now under construction. In the midst of that, then you're going to be layering in a potential new environmental review on top of that project during the same time frame. You're going to be doing the study here at the same time that you're reaching completion, I think next year or the year after, relative to the bypass road. And I just want to see that, you know, as we drive the pillars in for bridge support or whatever, that we're not excluding transportation networks that are already designated for that project corridor from the airport to the port and return, that fits in with the other projects that are ongoing out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and I think I've mentioned this before, Kevin Kelleher has been, you know, our point of contact at the county administrator level to make sure we're coordinating all of our efforts here in this area. There's no intent for us to get in the way of each other, or to undo something that's already been done. It is not unusual to have an environmental study happening where other projects are happening at the same time. We just have to acknowledge that's happening. We have to identify as a risk or that's happening during this effort, but it doesn't preclude us from.
Well, and that goes back to why I raised a question as it related to the impact of past studies on the new effort or the redesigned new effort. The bypass road was designed with a concept and reserved space for the connector as that was being designed, but that was based on a set of studies and routing and technology selection from more than 10 years ago. And I just, as all this comes together, there are a lot of potential conflicts that I want people to identify and, you know, see the conclusion of the projects.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, sir. That when we get this, the project team on board, they will be looking at all the past studies and all the investments and all of the master plans. I know there was a master plan for that area that was done for the airport. All of that will be part of the research that they'll be using in terms of the back study to inform what we do going forward. So that will not be lost. I just personally have to say that's what I'm.
And then on top of that, those two projects, and you've got the people mover within the airport that's going to impact that.
Yeah, so the people mover, so right now we have the intermodal center kind of being the hub of it all, right? So the intermodal center that's being run by Mark Gale at the airport, that intermodal center will serve both the commuter rail service that's coming into the airport as well as the light rail.
And the South County, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Some challenges. I said that's some challenges ahead for you and all of the other agencies.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just a matter of us talking to each other, coordinating, and making sure we have kind of a master planning concept behind us when we're doing this, and that we're not getting in each other's way. And we that is happening. And so, you know, as we've talked about this, because it's, you know, some of this is new to Broward County, it's not necessarily new to the rest of the country. And so there's a lot of consulting firms, there's a lot of contractors out there that can help us solve this problem that we have here. And so what we've done is we've intentionally reached out and hosted industry days to invite folks to come in and see what we're doing and to get their to generate interest in the project. And so we've invited the small business community here in Broward to be a part of that. We've also brought in national, international firms come in as well. And so we believe that this is the game changer here in terms of getting the right type of resources available to us, the right interest level from consulting firms to help us with the overall delivery of these projects. Our next step is to go do the same thing with the construction community. So this initial focus has been on the engineering side because we're at this project development phase, but we are going to be offering the same types of opportunities with the construction side of the house to generate that interest as well. So we're really trying our best to spread the word and get companies interested in doing business with the county. And this is just some of the media coverage that we've had this year. We're pretty excited by the fact that we've got a lot of positive press, and that our Juneteenth bus was featured on the front page of the Sun Centennial and above the fold, which is double excitement here for us. But it's, you know, nice to be on the front page, and it's a good story, and I'll just leave it there. And then the other thing that happened this year that's a tremendous accomplishment is that we have our highest ever discretionary award on federal transit grants. And so we received a $25 million grant to support our no emissions efforts for our buses and our facilities. And so this is really great. We're super excited to get that award. There were, across the country, there were over 400 applicants that applied for this. They narrowed it down to just over 100. We were a part of that smaller group. In the state of Florida, of the 36 agencies that could apply, we were one of 7 that received money for this. So we feel pretty excited about that. And the last thing is our formula funds. Also, that is a grant that we get from the federal government. All transit agencies get that. That's not discretionary. That's something that they give you. And we just saw an increase of $10 million in that funding also. So we're excited about that. You know, when I mentioned earlier about the propane changes to our fleet of paratransit vehicles, over about a 10-year period where this has started, we've seen about a $14 million saving in that. Not only is that happening, but we're seeing a reduction of about 23% in greenhouse emissions moving toward this propane experience. And so we received a national award recognizing Paul Strobus and his team for advancing our propane efforts in the industry. And that is it. Thank you for your patience during all these technical difficulties. If I could just say one thing to you all, I stand in front of you today giving you this presentation, but there are a lot of people who make this all happen for us. And I just want all of the BCT team to please stand up in the room. There's another 1,200 elsewhere plus, but this is the team that makes it happen. And I also want to recognize Gabby and Maria. They're the ones that Diana rather and Maria, who's not here. They are the ones who put the presentation together today. As Gretchen mentioned, it did work yesterday. I know they were down here making sure everything was going to be flawless for you. Okay, we had a hiccup, but thank you so much for your patience in this, and I'm happy to answer the questions you have.
Mr. Fraser, go ahead.
I have just one general question, and I'm going to ask all of the presenters this. And since you and all the other departments are presenting all of your accomplishments over a period of time, what were some of the program objectives that you had that were not successful or partially successful? And how are you going to address those going forward?
Okay, that's a really good question. I think we did talk a lot about our accomplishments. I would say that the one thing we had a couple of unfortunate incidents this year. But I think the one thing that I'm most concerned about is our overall delivery of Primo. And we did have a little bit of a setback with getting resources on board to support our technical support for the project. That what's changed is they're now here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use them to help us advance the Primo program and bring those additional resources on through our BCT 2.0. So, the schedule, I think, will slip a little bit, but it won't be anywhere where we can't recover on the back end. Did that answer your question, sir? Okay.
Anyone else? Corey, I just want to say the BCT story, the humanitarian part of it needs to be told. What your bus drivers and your people are doing for riders is amazing. And really, that needs to get out more, I hope. But thank you for that. And to me, it's more than a bus ride. It really is. And I think that's the story that needs to be told. Congratulations. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I guess we're ready for Broward County Public Works Department.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Tony Hui, Public Works Department, and thank you for the opportunity to be here to share a little bit about the work that we've been doing over in the Public Works Department. And I hope that we can be as impressive as our transit department has been. They certainly have done a lot of work, but we have too. We've been busy this past year. This is just a quick summary of the number of projects that we are currently working on in various phases between design procurement, actual design, construction procurement and construction and so forth. So as you can see, we have a lot of projects that we've been working on, and it's keeping our folks, very busy in terms of what's going on and making sure that projects are proceeding along according to our budgets and so forth. But what I thought is that a lot of times when we're just talking about numbers, we don't really get the impression and we don't really get the feel for what we're doing for the public and what is really happening in the project. So what I wanted to do is I kind of want to emphasize a couple of the really important things that we're currently working on right now and give the board a better feel for what it is that we're doing, how we're proceeding, and what our effort is affecting the residents of the county. And I picked out the sort of three projects, or actually the last one is a group of projects, and is sort of these three are sort of a good illustration on some of the things that we're doing. The first one is the Port Bypass Road project. I think we talked about that last year, and it's going to be, it's tied into the county's economic engines in the convention center, and then ultimately with the connector that Corey just mentioned and so forth. And so, I think it would be a good idea to show the board what we've been doing and some of the progress that we've made so far. The next project is an intersection improvement project. The intersection improvement projects, most of them are very interesting projects that help us do a number of things. And I think you're going to hear about, what the different aspects of it. So when we talk about it, we can get a better feel for exactly the type of improvements that we're making. And the third one is sort of a group of projects, the road drainage projects. And I think everyone is aware that flooding issues have been big in the last couple of years, and they have changed tremendously from how we originally saw the project. And we're spending money on it. And so I just want to make sure that the board understands how what the issues are and how they have changed and what we need to continue to do to reflect the things that we need to do for our residents. So those are the three type of projects that that I'm going to want to highlight to the board, and to help me with that, or actually to illustrate that. Richard Tornese here is the director of the Highway Construction and Engineering Division, and he's going to go, excuse me, he's going to go over the first two projects. And Anton, he's the director of the Highway and Bridge Maintenance Division, and he's going to go over the road drainage projects. And those are the two individuals that manage a lot of our projects in as part of the Surtax. And these two individuals are guys that are very important and very instrumental with their staff in terms of handling our work. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Richard to start with the Port Bypass Road.
Okay. I'm just going to borrow your mic here. Okay, that's all right. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate you having me here, because one of the projects I'm really excited about is the Port Bypass Road. Actually, I spent a lot of time. I'm there as the director. I actually go there at least once a week for a whole day, and as it really gets steaming along and construction really gets super active, I'll be there even more. There's a lot of challenges with the Port Bypass Road, and I'm going to go through some of the slides just to go over some of the details of it. But like Mr. Allen said there, that we've been coordinating with the Transportation Department, making sure everything fits. I mean, the thing is, the one thing we want to do is make sure that we construct this in a way where there's no redos and the rail could come through there and there's no issues, which we've already done. But we'll, I'd be happy to answer any questions on that regard anyway. Let's see here. Okay, so we awarded the agreement to lead engineering contractors. So far, the contractor has been very cooperative. We have a good relationship. Of course, it always starts out good, so hopefully it continues. So, yeah, but they have the right attitude. They're in it to meet the schedule on time. So it's an incentive bonus. We have a $2 million incentive bonus for them to actually complete it early. They really want to do that. They have the ability to work at nights, which is great, because there's not some areas you really can't work at nights. If you're around residential areas, there's really no issues there except for security, which we work it out with the the port itself. So and we started May 1st. We're about 15% complete so far, on schedule, within budget. So we're fine. The budget is the award was for 48 million. So so far so good. No issues there. And we plan on having the bypass road open for traffic in November 2025. So the project is bifurcated in a way. We have the bypass road that we're constructing to meet that deadline to get by November 2025. But we have the overall project, which will probably extend into early 2026, which is the Spangler Road and Spangler Boulevard work and so forth. But the bypass road itself, to be open to traffic, to facilitate that traffic movement, we're looking at to be open in 2025. Okay, so just give you some ideas of what we've been up to since May. So the water main, which we installed, which is just east of US 1 on Spangler, about 2,000 feet of a 12-inch water main. They've been doing that at night. It just really, with all the truck traffic, there's a lot of traffic there. I mean, it's amazing. Actually, it's amazing, the port. You really get excited when you do see what's going on there. you can see why that facility really does really well, not only for Broward County, but for basically all of Florida. I mean, it just, I never really realized they did that much. So, and I'm like, wow, I'm impressed. So, and I definitely like being out there, near the beauty of the cruise ships and everything else that comes in there. You know, reminds me I need to go on it one again. Whoops. Okay, here we go. So yeah, so the water main's going along. Actually, we're about complete with the water main. We're pretty much just have to tie in some services. So that went on, which was great. We didn't hit anything. So that was the key. We were like, okay, anytime we're digging on this, once I get out of the ground with the bridge, I'm going to be very happy, because then I can sleep at night, because that's the only thing I worry about, because there's fuel lines everywhere where we never realized it. And even the facilities like Marathon and Transmontane, they said, we didn't know we had that there either. So it's always, we have to really be careful when we're excavating. So the widening, we're doing the widening along Spangler now. It's just by the checkpoint, by US 1. So they're doing some of that widening and heading east. So they're trying to work on certain areas, you know, at the same time, because the project, you know, does need to be moving along pretty quickly. So they can't just be concentrated on just doing one stage at a time. They have to work in multiple areas. And then we have drainage going in, which so far so good on that too. And we've been putting in, as you can see here, photos, this exfiltration trench where they wrap filter fabric around aggregate, and we've been doing, and it's, you know, of course, it's part of the permitting that we need to put that in, but it is going in as we speak. And let's see here, it gets to some exciting stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna see how this works. So one of the challenges of the project, even the very beginning when we were designing, was the vibrations that we would create if we did driven piles. So if we did driven piles, it would be an issue. So we had to come up with well, the designers and my team had to come up with an idea to actually build the foundation of the bridge, and auger cast piles is one of the ways they can do it. So, but the auger cast piles, as you're going to see through the video, is a different operation. It's especially when you're going down 100 feet. So, you know, we've done auger cast piles for sound walls, which, you know, 20, 30 feet, whatever. But when you get down 100 feet, it's just it's a major, and if you go out there, if you actually want to drive there, you'll see massive cranes, and you'll see how that setup is, and it's, you know, it's impressive. Okay, so I don't know if the video can start. Oh, good, I got help.
Continuous flight auger piling is a fast and economical piling method, ideally suited to wet or granular ground conditions, which otherwise would require the use of temporary casings to support the ground. Pile depths of up to 32 meters depth can be achieved using powerful crawler-mounted drill rigs. A CFA pile is constructed by rotating a full-length auger into the ground to the required depth. Auger diameters from 450 millimeters to 1200 millimeters are common. The auger has a hollow stem which is connected by a flexible hose to a concrete pump. The hose and stem are charged with concrete before drilling commences. Once the auger reaches the required depth, concrete pressure dislodges a temporary cap at the base of the hollow stem, and concrete is pumped under pressure into the ground while the auger is withdrawn, carrying the excavated soil upwards. Different designs of auger cleaner require the auger to either be stationary during extraction or to be slowly rotated in the same direction as used when drilling. Soil is flighted up the auger and is removed by an auger cleaner just above the ground surface. Once the tip of the auger returns to ground level, concrete pumping ceases. The accumulated soil is then cleared away from the pile head. Then a prefabricated reinforcement cage is plunged into the pile while the concrete remains fluid. Special attention to the concrete mix design is required to maintain its workability and to ensure that the reinforcement cage can be inserted to the required depth. The pile concrete is allowed to set before nearby piles are constructed. Piling contractors. Think safe, work safe, home safe.
This is the actual, the clip that was shown before was just going to be, it's generic. It's not specific to this project. These are actually project photos. So as you can see here, actually, we have over 100 piles that we're, like, as it says there, that we're actually putting in the ground. And the thing is that some are range from 70 to 100 feet. There are some are about 44 or so, or about 36-inch diameter. About the rest of them are in 24-inch diameter. Right now.
Explain.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, yeah, it's gonna be hard to with my hands, but so yeah, but the auger, so you could you know what we're augering down. We basically auger down to the depth that we need, right? And then on the top, if you can't see it, there's actually hoses that pumps aggregate. I mean grout, which is basically concrete that comes down more or less this basically the auger itself into the bottom where there's a cap, and then there's a cap, and then once they get down to the elevation, it blows out the cap, right? So now the concrete now fills that, and as it fills it, they then reverse the auger, and just basically all the spoils and soil come to the top, and then they basically clear that away. And then once they get to the very top where it's filled with the amount of concrete, and basically fill in that void, they let it set for a little bit, and then they bring in a steel cage, which has to be brought in from another crane, as you can see there. It has to be basically the same. So it's this rebar cage that's sitting on another crane would then is lowered in all the way to the bottom of where the auger basically drilled to. In the meantime, we have sensors on everything. We can see, we have 3D sensors. We know where how much aggregate and how much of the concrete has covered the steel. We know the temperatures of how the concrete is curing, because it is limitations. They can't cure at too high a temperature. We have all sensors to make sure that anything we're putting in the ground, we see it. We basically see it on the ground. And and they have that, and then it displays up basically to the operator, and then it becomes a report, and then we say the pile's good based on those sensors and the readouts. So I don't know if I explained it but that's what the video would have shown. Okay, let's go here. Let's see if we got anything else. Whoops, went a little too far. Okay, and this other project is, as Tony was saying, we have this intersection project, and I'd like to say is bang for the buck, because I think in intersection projects there is where most of the congestion happens anyway, and most people complain. So we look at it with the amount of money spent and amount of relief of traffic, and also accommodate complete streets. One thing we want to do is the intersections is everything's tight, so we try to make sure we accommodate the pedestrians, the bicyclists, and facilitate traffic, and of course transit. So yeah, and you'll see it that this project actually did all. Okay, all right. So we added a left turn lane, actually a dual right turn lane too. We added a triple left, which we don't see too many of those. But the dual left was backing up traffic and blocking traffic from going through. So the triple left actually helped out a lot. We looked at the project afterwards, and we can see a big difference in traffic movement. Of course, like we said, we complete streets. We were looking at accommodating the pedestrians. We have sidewalk. We had bike lanes we put in. You can see the bus bay there too. So definitely making sure everyone is, and lighting. We lowered the speed, so that. And that was done too, because we had to squeeze everything in. We had lane widths that were reduced down to where a low speed was appropriate. So we lowered the speed. We improved the lighting, LED. So really, it was like I said, it was one of the projects that you see it, and you really definitely, for the amount of money, which was about 1.7 million, we thought it was a great improvement for all users. And of course, we have mast arms that we installed in there for resiliency. So we made sure for hopefully this season we're good, but just in case this is a great way to mitigate some of the issues that happen with span wires during hurricanes. And there were some drainage improvements. I know An likes that, so he definitely appreciates anything we could do to help out drainage. So. And of course, resurface the road, new pavement markings. So we don't want to forget about our traffic engineering folks too. We got to take care of them. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Anton. I'm Division Director for Highway and Bridge Maintenance. So we maintain the roadway and bridges for Broward County. Approximately, we have about 1,200 lane miles that we maintain. We have 100 bridges. They're included the 3 drawbridges in downtown Fort Lauderdale. For our road drainage, just to give you a quick picture, we have about 300 miles of drainage line that we maintain, and they're spread out all over the county. And approximately 15,000 drainage structures, the thing that's collect the water and move the water along that we maintain. And they're spread out all over the county. So, what has changed for us with drainage? So let me take you back a little bit. In the past, when we do an estimate for a drainage project, what we typically do is take a look at, okay, in the past, when we have to we complete a drainage design or construction project, what would typically happen is about 10 to 15% of the pipes or the structure would need to be replaced. We typically didn't need to upsize a lot of the pipe, because they were designed, the current storm system can handle it. So we know we need to go back and fix some pipe, about 10 to 15% of it. But over the past few years, we know that doesn't work anymore. Why it doesn't work, there's a whole host of reasons that we can go over, but it definitely doesn't work anymore. There is the typical drainage design, which is to handle 3 inches of rain over 24 hours on these neighborhood streets, just doesn't work anymore. Thank you. This is some of the pictures in the neighborhoods that we maintain. Now, we didn't make the news a lot, unlike some of the other neighborhoods, because we were able to drive these neighborhoods down fairly quickly. Within 48 hours, the roads were passable. But that doesn't make it all right. I mean, we can do better, and we should do better for these neighborhoods. Excuse me 1 second. So over the past, let's say, year and a half, starting with April of last year, we had a supposedly 1 in 1,000 year storm event, when we had over 25 inches of rain over us in 24 hours. The airport had to close. A lot of neighborhoods were flooded. That's when a lot of neighborhoods like Edgewood, Melrose Park, Melrose Manors, those are not our neighborhood, but they made the news a lot because for weeks and weeks they were flooded in. A few months later, in November, we had another storm event that came through. Not as bad as April, but it was pretty bad. And then this past June, starting on June 12th, we had a really bad storm event. Supposedly, it's another 500-year storm event. So first of all, I'm not sure who's doing the math, but it doesn't add up to me. That 500-year and 1,000-year storm event happened in like a year and a half. By the way, that last storm event, I-95 actually closed for a period of several hours. And I've been in Broward County and working for Broward County for about 20 years. I've been living down here for about 35 years. I have never seen I-95 close because of a drainage problem. That was the first time. So something is happening. And so we know that, and we've been looking at for the last couple of years, that we need to change things around to make sure we adapt not only to what is happening now, but the foreseeable future. So when we go out and design a project, plan it out, construct a drainage project, that we don't continuously tear up the road over and over and over again.
I have a question. Is the fact we're just getting more water or rain, or are the facilities that are in the ground losing their function? In other words, were they designed okay? They just are clogged up, or is it what's in the ground the problem, or too much rain is the problem, or both?
Is all the above, and a number of other things. So here you will see, so we're seeing a lot, and recently we've seen a lot of water. So the way drainage work is we collect the storm drain, it gets piped, it gets treated, and it's outfall into a canal, a lake, or the ocean. What we've been seeing over the past few years is there are times when water actually pushes back into our system. So part of our project that is paid for by GasTech is we've been putting one-way valve in all these outfall. In other words, it goes out, but it doesn't come back in. So that's one. Some of the neighborhood, I'm going to go over it and you will see it, is in the east side of the county where it's tidally influenced. So in other words, the tide goes up, we have a problem. Tide goes down, it gets better. So that's another problem. Thirdly, there's, like you alluded to, the level of rain and the intensity of the storm water that comes down these days is much more than what the road can handle, or much more I've seen in my lifetime. And not only that, most of our neighborhoods and roadway starting from east to west that were developed. If you've been down here a long time, you know that we start from east and we develop generally toward the west. And about 30, 35 years ago, which is about the life expectancy of our storm drainage. So everything is colliding at one time. And we're seeing all of this happening at the same time. And not only that, but we're seeing a lot more folks move down here, buildings going up, cut out the impervious, cut out the pervious, add the impervious in. That leads to more problem for us. So what have we done? Like I said in the past, we would estimate a project based on what we see above, based on historical information. That's no longer the case. We have folks that go out and clean the drainage and the storm drain. We have contractors that help us out as well. That will generally generate a list of immediate repair that we need to do. So we know right now that the best thing we can do, along with these long-term improvement, is to keep our drainage system in tip-top shape. So if there's a little problem in our storm drain or storm pipe, we need to get it clear right away. There's just no way around it. That little clog will cause a backup along the whole system. So then that generate a lot of work for immediate repairs. In addition to that, we would do a video inspection of the storm drain. And there's a couple of reasons. One, I alluded to earlier, the 10 to 15% of storm drain that needs repair is no longer the case. So the video inspection will tell us how much, where the pipes that needs to be repaired are at, how much, what kind of structures, and all that information, but we don't actually do the repair yet for those things that can wait. And the reason for that is we need to model the whole system, because we know that if we just keep the same model as it before, it wouldn't work. Three inches of rain in 24 hours is no longer the reality that we live in. So we have to do a whole drainage analysis. We model all the storm system and project out that what can we do to bring it to a high level of service. And then we start the design process and then ultimately the construction process. This is a very exciting video of what you see inside the pipe. So what projects do we have going right now? So the blue are the neighborhoods that the county we maintain. The orange are the neighborhoods that have been in the news. Those are not our neighborhood, but just to give you a perspective of the one that have been in the news, how closely they are to the neighborhood that we maintain. And what have we been doing for at least the neighborhood that we're responsible for? So we're starting from the bottom, is Broadview Park. The big blue square there is a fairly large neighborhood. There's 700 homes in there. A few years ago, we obtained a grant using, we leveraged some of the Surtax dollar and we received a large grant. We've been in the neighborhood making immediate repair We have TV the whole neighborhood, TV all the lines in the whole neighborhood already, and have modeled the system. And now we're proceeding on the design process for that neighborhood using the small C amount of dollar from Surtax and leveraging that using the grant money from the state. In addition to that, we've also been working on Boulevard Gardens, which is the neighborhood just to the north of the orange boxes there. Again, leveraging dollars from Surtax, getting grant from, this time from DEP, the state DEP. Same thing, we have a process in place. We've been in there cleaning the pipes, fixing whatever we can, and then modeling it. In addition to some other Surtax dollar. Now, there are other neighborhoods that we have not been able to get a lot of money for. We have applied for a grant for Roosevelt Gardens, Washington Park, and we're about to apply for a grant in Franklin Park. Those have not been awarded to us at this time, but we'll continue to try. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the surtax dollars, then I assume you're be able to, because we have them to spend, we're able to get matching funds. Do you have any idea of what, is it 10% or 20%? Well, how much are we able to increase our surtax dollars because of the fact we have them? Do you have any idea what percentage it is?
Sure, I can tell you for the Broadview Park, we leveraged $5 million of surtax dollar and we received $17 million in grant funding. That has changed. The next one, Boulevard Gardens, they put a mandate out there that you must have 50% matching. So we put 8.75 or surtax dollar. We received another 8.75.
You know, I think this is part of the story that's being told. There's surtax dollars. People right now are extremely flooding with what's happening. I think I hate to say take advantage of that calamity, but these surtax dollars, people, I don't know whether they just relate them to roads or sidewalks or bike paths, but this is an important issue. So the marketing department needs to take advantage of this. And this is an important thing. I think it's also important to realize how much matching. It's a little story. If we didn't have the money, we wouldn't get the match. So we need to work on that. So this is good news coming out of bad news. Thank you.
Thank you. In addition to that, there are several county roadway drainage projects that we're working on. Northeast 6, 21st Ave, 15 and Andrews. And you can see a little trend here. It's mostly the roadway on the east side that needs a lot more help than the one on the west side, just because of the reason I've listed, that they're tidally influenced, the age of the infrastructure and so on. Roosevelt Garden is a good example of how we quickly reacted. We brought this up to you last year, repurposing some lighting money that were dedicated for lighting to make an immediate impact to the community. We started working on the pipes already. All the pipes were clean, regrade all as well, biodetention, rain garden, and things of that nature. Now, as I alluded to earlier, that is what I would call the short-term to immediate term needs right now. What we still need to do is coming back to do to TV all the lines to see where the most help needs to happen, and then model the whole neighborhood for drainage, and then we can project it out and complete the design. So part of the request later on is going to be $1 million for Roosevelt Garden to complete the upcoming tasks, just so we can get to the design phase and construction phase before we know exactly how much it's going to cost for the overall picture. That will also help with leveraging, put it in a better position to get additional grant funding, because we were able to demonstrate the clear need and the county's surtax commitment to this neighborhood.
Just to place that in perspective, what I mentioned about the dollar needs and so forth is included in the FY25 request that you're going to be seeing this afternoon.
So we're kind of setting the stage for this afternoon.
Well, we wanted to explain.
The next one is Northeast 6th Avenue Drainage Improvement, and this one was designed a few years ago. And then we started construction on it. The project was $3.2 million. And now we're finding out that that is not enough. You know, when we started looking at all the pipes, you know, we've done a section already, and we had to stop and say, okay, this is not how we can continue to do business, because we're going to continue to tear up this neighborhood. So we did what we can with the dollar. Now we model everything already, complete the design, and then we'll be coming back for an additional dollar, because as I indicated before, instead of 10 to 15% of the pipe that need to be replaced, we're looking at close to 100% of the pipe that needs to be replaced. And our model shows that we really need to upsize all these pipes. So there's no reason to go out there and replace a broken pipe with the same size pipe. That helps a little bit, but it doesn't solve the real problem. So, okay. And that's basically the good news I have today.
It was going to be my question. Even if you had all the funding you're asking for and projecting into the future, you know, how to fix, remedy, and improve the capacity, what percentage of the total need do you foresee, being fixed or remedied? I mean, just given that this is an existing urban area built 30, 40, 50 years ago, and it's always more difficult to change, fix, improve infrastructure. So what do you, by no means I'm envying your job. You're doing a tremendous service for the community, and usually funding is the issue, but it's really so much more than that. So how do you foresee in next 5-10 years and these trouble areas being upgraded or fixed or becoming more manageable? And
if I can start, and feel free to jump in. So, I believe right now what we're seeing is that there's a tremendous need, but I believe right now we have a process in place. We need to complete the immediate repair, maintain the system in tip-top shape. For these drainage events like this weekend, we're already staging pumps and so on to assist move the water faster. But for the long term, we really need to clean TV the line to exactly identify what needs to be fixed and remodel the system using information that we know what really needs to be designed, not what was designed 30 years ago. So that's what we're endeavoring on. So in this year and the next year, you're going to see a lot of requests for the modeling, cleaning, TVing. And then after that, we will have a much better idea about what is it that's going to cost. But like I said, as soon as we have that information, it puts us in a much better place to leverage Surtax Valley, because it demonstrates the clear need and it demonstrates the county's commitment to making these improvements. Does that kind of answer your question? Thank you.
That does raise an issue, though, Chairman. I look at the schedule and it said you started construction in February of 2004 or 24, and then you discovered the problem. Is there a way? My concern is once you've gone into that neighborhood, then you discover. I think many people are very frustrated with highway projects when they overexceed their estimated time frame because of unforeseen conditions. Is there a way that this body, the board, approve those kinds of upticks so that you're not waiting around for our approval or a new year, but this is treated as an emergency once that neighborhood has already been torn up, so that they're not left hanging while you come back and seek additional authority?
So I can answer about this project, and then someone else can answer about how this board can handle, because that's a little bit beyond my pay grade. But what we did when we start from instead of tearing up the whole neighborhood, when we started this project in February this year, we realized at that point that there may be a problem. So we pick a section. It's just to the north of that, like about half a mile instead of the whole roadway. We tore it up and we fixed whatever we could. And now, right now, all that section has been restored. We didn't tear up the other section of roadway. And then we're getting ready to pave as soon as the rain clear out here. So to your point, the neighborhood is not going to be torn up for months and months and months. We started in February, and by September, we should have that section of road paved. And then before we move on to the next section, we're already coming back to you here to let you know that, hey, we're going to need more money, and then to our board county commissioner before we start in the next section, because we're working right in front of people's home in this neighborhood. But you brought up a very good point, and we're very, very sensitive to that, Phil.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think that there's definitely an urgency with regards to these type of drainage improvements that needs to be done, and we don't want to delay that. But at the same time, what we want to make sure that we do is that we do it in a sound engineering and constructible manner. So, we do want to take, some of the time, and what An and his group is doing, helps a lot with that. And then, we do run into situations where the urgency, do come in. I think what we would want to do is we would come to the board at those periods of time and notice, notify you of the urgency of the situation and request your approval on the eligibility, of any additional funds that we may need.
I would also assume that the county has other monies other than Surtax handles a certain amount of these emergencies, so they don't have to wait on or thank you.
Yeah, and we'll work closely with our budget office to, to make sure that that happens and that the residents don't suffer because of any potential time lag. Okay. So I hope that gives you the board a better feel for some of the things that, that we're doing. And it's, important things. I think it's exciting things, using some innovative construction methods like Richard mentioned to handle some of our projects. So, so with that, I sort of started by saying, looking at the numbers don't give you a feel. Hopefully that gives you a feel. We do want to take a look at the numbers. Coming back to it, we've completed a number of projects this past year, and that's the list of the projects we've completed and some very brief pictures, photos of it. It's a fiber project that has been completed. Intersection improvement project. This is another intersection improvement project at Napa and Southgate. We were able to extend some of the turn lanes in the intersection in 3 of the 4 directions, and that also helped relieve the situation and resolve the situation. And there were a number of other improvements in addition to it, like the bike lanes, and then also some of the resurfacing and so forth that that went along with it. This is a project that Richard already mentioned, so I don't need to go over that. This is a mass arm, new mass arms that have been installed in that intersection. And as you can see on the photo on the right, that the entire intersection, as part of the mass arm conversion, the entire intersection is also resurfaced to bring it up to current standards and conditions. And this is some of the a sidewalk drainage project along Northeast 56th Street. Oh, wait, I think I just skipped over one. And it also, yeah, oh, I'm sorry, that is the one that I was on. So, any questions that I can answer?
Mr. Chairman, I have the same question I've asked the other departments. Your department gets affected more by unforeseen conditions more than anybody else. And that's because of the weather and the heat. And what I'd like to know is that you gave us your successes. Could you tell us about those program items that were unmet or were affected because of delays, weather, or what have you, and how you plan to address those, put them back on track?
In terms of unforeseen conditions causing delays or budgets and that type of thing?
Yeah, because you had a number of projects and programs that you had scheduled, and some of them were affected by weather and what have you, and other purposes.
Yeah.
So they didn't get accomplished. So question is, how are you going to put them back on track?
Okay, well, let me start and then you can jump in, Richard. So one of the things that, we do is it rains in South Florida, of course, and there are a certain number of events that, when that occurred, the contractor is just not able to work. And so what we do is that we actually, in all of our contracts that we have with our contractors, we take that into consideration and we work with them, and our inspectors go out and identify that, when the weather impacts their work and causes them to delay the progress. And then that's kind of the important thing, is it causes them to delay the progress. We do give them makeup days. We allow them to extend it by, X number of days. So we don't shortchange our construction goals because of the time, because of the delay. We would provide them, a reasonable and a logical time to allow them to finish the work, essentially.
Heavy rain. We'll see the amount of damage that will occur. So in terms of programming future, that heavy rain, that drainage space in the system, it could affect some of the piping, you have to replace that, which was anticipated. Those are the kind of things I know happens. My question is, what do you do about putting those things back on schedule after they're impacted by unforeseen conditions that you could not?
Sure. So, as I alluded to earlier, the rains happen, we don't control the weather. How we react to it is important. So, one of the things that we listed now is, instead of estimating using historical knowledge that this percentage of pipe needs to be replaced, right now we're endeavoring on making sure we TV all the lines, so that reduces the chances of that problem that you get into construction and all of a sudden 50% of your pipe needs to be replaced versus 10 of your pipes need to be replaced. So we did experience that, we on Northeast 6th Avenue, and how we handle it is, for the later section of the same project, we stop and said, look, let's just put the neighborhood back in order, TV the line, and then we model the whole system again to make sure not only the pipe that needs to be replaced is replaced, but also replaced at the right size, so we don't come back and find out that we replace a pipe, but it's still undersized.
Thank you. Could you update us where we are with the fiber optic lines, the backbone, and also, if it's on schedule, behind, ahead,
We'll be happy to. There is that's what I thought. Yeah. If you don't mind, we have a presentation next Friday where we can show you the map and show you the backbone, what has been done and what hasn't been done. If you can hold your question, if you don't mind holding a question, that we'll appreciate it. We're happy to show you all the things that we've done.
Anyone else have anything? Thank you very much. And now I have the Office of Economic and Small Business Development. I know Sandy's not here today, but I know we have a work replacement for him. Welcome back, Nicole.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm Nicole Francis with the Office of Economic and Small Business Development. I'm a small business development specialist, and as you said, I'm filling in for Sandy today. So first, I'm going to go over the projects that we reviewed. So as you know, both county and cities are providing us with their projects, and we're reviewing them for CBE goals. So on the county side, we've reviewed 101 projects with an estimated value of over $780 million, and the average CBE goal on the projects are 28%. So as we stated before, it's not an automatic 30%. It depends on the scope of work and the availability of CBEs. So the CBE goal could go up or down depending on that. On the municipal side, we've reviewed 131 projects with over $150 million in project opportunities. And that goal that we've been setting on that is a bit higher on average of 33%. So if all of those projects came into fruition and at least the CBE goal was met, we're projecting that over $350 million will be going to actual CBE firms participating on these projects. So now we're going to go to awarded. So the first slide was things that we've looked at. This slide is actually what has been awarded. So when we say awarded, that means the bid has actually gone out on the street and a vendor has actually been selected, and now these projects are underway. So of those projects, on the county side, we've had 46 awards to contractors with a total project amount of over $320 million, and the average CBE commitment is 33%. So we're seeing that on several of these projects, they're not only going after the goal, but they're actually exceeding it with their commitment. So the goal could be 30, and we've seen 30, 40, 50. And even if they're a prime themselves who's a CBE, we're seeing that they're actually exceeding the goal on that as well. So of those county projects, we project that over $86 million will be paid to CBE firms. So on the municipal side, we project over $30 million will go to CBEs. We've had 43 project awards with a project total of over $69 million, and the average CBE commitment is over higher on those are 40%. So we're seeing really good in terms of commitment that CBEs are really being utilized on these projects. So we just wanted to go through some stories of actual CBEs because we want you to see that this is real impact. We're trying weekly in our Business Assistance Weekly newsletter and on our websites to post real stories, the real impact that this is having on businesses locally here in Broward. So this first story we have is Alejandro. He's the president and CEO of GCES Engineering Services. So after working in the industry for 30 years, so first he was an adjunct professor. He's been in the industry both on the government side and on the private sector. And he finally said, hey, you know, I see that there's a need for geotechnical services. So he started his business 10 years ago. So he got certified, and now he's on different projects in Broward County. He was even on the new JetBlue terminal project on the airport, and he's actually doing geotechnical services and quality control testing on a MAP Broward project. So when I asked him, hey, what's your future plans? He said in 5 years, he's hoping to grow his business, and he knows that the CBE program is definitely going to help him get there. Another person I wanted to share was Solia. Solia was actually working for a company for over 20 years as an engineer, and she got an opportunity where they were going to shut down the business, but they were already working on a project with the Department of Transportation. So they gave her the opportunity to start her own business so that she can continue working on the project. So since 2016, she's been certified, and she's been on 5 to 6 projects with Broward County, one of which is a MAP Broward project. So again, we're seeing different instances where people are just really fulfilling their dreams and being able to start businesses and actually get contracts here in Broward County. So the last one I wanted to share was Osvaldo. So Osvaldo was working also 20 plus years in the industry, and he actually started off his business after working from a bridge designer. He got into management and then started his own company. So now he has 22 employees, and he's been on 3 contracts in Broward County, one of which is a MAP Broward project. And he got this opportunity because he showed up to the events and he found out what opportunities were coming up, made connections, and he was actually able to land these projects. So again, the point of these is just to let you know, and we have many of these similar stories on our website to show that this is really impacting people's lives. When I'm doing these interviews, folks are telling me, I know it's only because of the CBE program that I'm actually faced with these opportunities. They're showing up in our directory. So when folks are trying to use small businesses, they're listed in there and can find behind them. They're showing up to our events and making those connections. So we just really want to really show the impact that this is having on people's lives. Even during the pandemic, some folks were like, there's no way I could have stayed afloat. But because we had these projects still going, they were able to keep their business afloat and survive. So we really just want to shout out and let you know that the CBU program is really having an impact, and that Matt Broward dollars and projects are even helping to further extend that. And I wanted to highlight some of the events we did. We briefly spoke last time about the Broward and Beyond Business Conference. We want to thank you so much, Chair, for speaking at the event, and Ms. Pennant as well for being there. Corey spoke as well. We had a table. You guys actually was one of our main sponsors for the event. So we just wanted to give you some status and let you know thank you so much for the collaborative effort and the support. We had over 900 attendees, so we had 984 attendees. 23 states were represented, including DC. We had 14 countries represented. We had 14 workshops, over 30 panelists, over 5 million impressions, media impressions. So that's the amount of times that they saw, hey, this conference is going on, which reached over 1 million people. We had 54 exhibitors, which we had a table here. So I want to thank the whole staff back here and Gretchen for all of their amazing collaborative effort this year. They have been on point, and I really appreciate it. Not only this event, but we had an event last month. Yay, clap, clap. Yes, they've really been, stepping out and reaching out and trying to collaborate with us on the different activities that we have going on. We had an event where we had upcoming projects. So we want to let folks know about real opportunity. Yes, they hear about Matt Broward and all the things coming out, but we have opportunities like this where we're saying, hey, within the next 6 months to a year, these are real projects that are coming out. So we have both municipal staff attend and speak about their projects, and we have county agencies come and speak about their projects that are coming up as well. So we had 132 attendees, and we had Public Works speak and transportation, and we had 4 municipalities as well. So Fort Lauderdale spoke about their new portal that they have where vendors have to register. And we had Miramar, we had North Lauderdale, and Weston as well. So this is a great opportunity to folks to actually connect with municipalities and county staff to find out about project opportunities. And again, we had a great table from the MAB admin staff, and thank you so much for supporting in terms of refreshments as well for the event. So, and that's all I had. Any questions for me?
I have one.
Yes.
I know that Sandy is so successful. I see the real worker.
Oh, good.
My question is, I know how hard your job is, because I've been a part of minority programs for a very long time. And a lot of people don't know that everybody looks at y'all like auditors. They don't want to see you, they don't want to hear from you. And your job is to try to get your program across. You've told us about all of the successful you had. Now tell us about those unsuccessful attempts that you had and how you were able to resolve that, because I know there are a lot of unwilling primes, and I know that there are a lot of unwilling subcontractors or unruly subcontractors that have one viewpoint, prime has another, and your job is to create a marriage. So sort of give us how you solve some of those unsuccessful problems.
Sure. So that is an issue, like you stated. Various issues. Sometimes on projects, we set a specific goal on the project and things may come up, and for some reason there may be performance issues. There may be a misunderstanding in terms of, what is supposed to be done on the project. So we do have a process in place. When the project is actually awarded, if primes are having an issue meeting the goal, we have a process. They can't just willy-nilly not use them. They can't just willy-nilly sub them out for someone else. So in those instances, we find out from both sides, right? We hear what the prime has to say, we hear what the sub has to say, we exchange that information, and we bring both of them in the room and we say what's going on and try to come up with a solution. So we try to see that, can they still continue to use the CBE? If not, are there other CBEs? So they can't just self-perform it. Are there other CBEs that you can use that are in our directory to actually meet this goal? And then we go from there. So there is a process in place. And yes, we have had some instances in which we did have to step in, and that's part of the job. But they know that we are their advocate. They can call on us and we'll get both sides of the story, and we'll try to work on what we can to actually still use that firm or substitute them so they can still meet the goal. Yeah, you're welcome.
One question, if you haven't had a CBE already moved from a sub to a prime, when do you think that'll happen?
No, we have. So we do, like sometimes we've shared with you guys on several slides before, and we can bring that to your attention again on the next time we present. But yes, we have CVEs that are absolutely performing as primes on these projects, and they are successful. And like I said, in those projects, because they're self-performing, they're attaining more than the goal. So that's absolutely part of it. And we have CVEs that are actually graduating from our program as well, because they're no longer meeting the, revenue threshold. So we definitely are seeing growth, and we'll continue to share those stories to you when we come present.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Anything else? Great job. Thank you.
All right. Office of County Attorney, Surtax Legal. Is Nathaniel going to do that by
So,
video?
Mr. Chair, could I ask you to turn your mic off? We're going to swap your mic. Because we're getting a lot of feedback on your mic, and I'm not sure why that is. So we're going to swap it out just briefly. I did want to mention the fact that Nathaniel Klitzberg, the Surtax General Counsel, is participating virtually. He is on Zoom with us, but he has asked that we just kind of skip over these slides simply because he is not feeling well enough to speak to them. I wanted to recognize Gavin Reinhardt, who's in the audience with the Surtax legal team, and they have been doing some great work. As you can see in your presentation, there have been a lot of successes and projects that have been progressed as a result of that team's hard work every day. Thank you very much. We have some things in solicitation. We have some projects that we are trying to move forward, and they are continuing to work with transportation, public works, the Office of Economic and Small Business Development, and of course, MAP administration, as we continue to stand the overall 30-year program up. I'm going to just very briefly, Mr. Chair, do some highlights of the municipal surtax program before we get to our break for lunch and our celebration. So very briefly, because I know it is an area of interest for this board, and for those who might be watching and participating virtually, thank you very much. We are grateful for the partnership of the 29 participating municipalities. And at this point in the program, keeping in mind that the municipalities were not eligible to receive surtax funds until 2020. So they're kind of 1 year behind the county as far as receiving surtax revenues. $320 million has been appropriated for both projects and the community shuttle program at this point. We have 117 projects, both capital and rehabilitation and maintenance projects that are actually under agreement. And that includes a series of projects that have been bundled together. So 4 projects that have turned into 1, 3 projects that have turned into 1, and 2 projects that have turned into 1. We have 86 municipal project funding agreements executed. Thank you to the Surtax legal team and to the cities and their legal departments. And the municipalities have been doing a great job, to your point, Mr. Chair, of bringing other people's money to the surtax awards that they have received, especially for projects in their construction phases. So as you can see here, we also are showing you the various phases of these projects. So for municipal capital projects, they can be awarded in 3 phases at this point: planning, design, and construction. So we have 27 construction projects that have been completed, 8 design phases that will move into a construction phase, and then 1 planning project that will move into a design phase. We also have just another way of looking at some of this information. We have 50 projects that are underway, in addition to the 36 that were completed. And we've paid out $42 million for municipal capital projects and almost $20 million for rehabilitation and maintenance projects. And once again, giving you an idea of by municipality, how many projects have been completed, how many phases of projects have been completed, and how many agreements have been executed. And finally, the annual municipal Surtax scorecard. Because I am the contract administrator for all municipal Surtax grants, we are responsible for putting together a scorecard for both the oversight board as well as the MPO for the Surtax services agreement. And as you can see here, each municipality starts with a score of 8 and has the opportunity based on timeliness of reporting, performance, that's both schedule and budget, as well as a number of other factors that are outlined in the Second Amendment to raise their score or to decrease their score. And as you can see, over the last 3 years since we started this process, the cities have been doing an excellent job of being timely with their reporting and compliant and completing their projects, not only on time and on schedule, but as I mentioned to you, to those of you that did briefings with me for the workshop, many of the municipalities are actually coming in under budget and returning funding to the county. So that's been, we'll actually have a 3rd budget supplemental that's going to be happening in August to recognize revenue from a previous fiscal year for those municipal projects. Oops, sorry about that. Any questions?
I have one. Are
Yes.
any of the Cycle 1 projects still out there floundering around,
So I think,
capturing dollars that can't be spent? Or
so yes, based on the language of the Second Amendment, we have very limited ability to cancel projects. Certainly projects that are in planning and design phases of award, rehabilitation and maintenance projects. So the way that the Second Amendment is structured, we have the ability to cancel only very limited number of those Cycle 1 projects. And we've been working closely with our municipal partners to ensure that the projects that were awarded in Cycle 1 are projects that they still want. As I mentioned to you in our briefing, we just heard from one of our municipal partners yesterday that actually one of these projects may not be feasible. It may not be something that their current city commission is supportive of. So we reach out regularly to ask whether or not they would like to withdraw projects. And there are still some Cycle 1 projects that are not under agreement.
is this Third Amendment an opportunity to correct that, what I consider deficiency, or not?
Absolutely. Yes.
Look forward to seeing that.
Us too.
I would assume, based on the number of agreements, that the educational effort that you've gone through to work with the cities is working.
I would want to hear from the cities, which, as you know, we did invite them to come. We do have some cities that are in the audience today, but we have a discussion item next Friday. We invited all of the municipalities to that meeting. So certainly I would welcome their feedback, but yes, I do believe that it has been very effective over the last year.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I have 2 questions. The first is, what are some of the difficult areas to monitor in this program?
I think some of the hardest things to monitor are projects that are in planning and design phases, because they're not something that you can go out on site and see what's happening. So just trying to stay on top of what's happening, especially because the way that the program is structured, as you know, Mr. Fraser, we advance the funding up to $250,000. So many planning and design projects receive all of their money up front. So there isn't this kind of ongoing communication between our office and the municipality that is leading and project managing those planning and design projects. So I would say those are the ones that are most challenging.
Second question is, do you have a slide that shows the impact that we've had across Broward County on various communities, since the surtax was supposed to be impacting various communities.
Yes, sir, I do. And you will see it after lunch.
Oh,
Yes, sir. It is part of this presentation.
Anyone else? Myrtle?
Just want to be commenting on our municipal partners, and of course, just like every new major initiatives, they're stumbling blocks. But my experience, so far, dealing with a number of municipalities with the assistance of Gretchen and her staff, and it's been extremely positive and constructive, and they were appreciative of her office and communicating and responding and providing information. And sometimes there are confusions, corrections necessary, and it's handled almost instantly. And I just wanted to thank you for that, and also for your staff.
Yes, as Corey said, none of this gets done by me alone. And so I just need to provide a big shout out to the team, especially Alex and Lena and Margaret, that work directly with the municipalities on a daily basis, with the reporting, with the compliance, with technical assistance, on-site support. So thank you to all of my team as well.
That's probably a natural segue for FY 2024 MAP Broward National Recognition Special Presentation.
So just very quickly, I'm sorry, I need to go back and make sure. Oh, I didn't see them in the room. Great. Okay. So yes, we are so lucky to have such great partners internal to our organization. And so I'm going to turn it over right now to Phil McChesney. I don't know, is Lenny here as well? Okay, well, Lenny, hi, online. I am so excited. You all saw the kind of the beta testing version before it was beautifully done with the vote. And I have to give a shout out to our Office of Public Communications, and particularly Mike Jorgensen, who worked on the voiceover with me for quite some time. And I am so excited to tell you that this 3D video won 2 national awards, I'm so sorry. One of which is best in category nationally. So come on over so that we can recognize all the great work that you did.
Hey everyone, my name is Mike Trujillo. I'm a 3D artist with the innovation unit here at Broward County.
Yes. Hello, good morning. My name is Giuseppe Nadal and I work for innovation here at UNI.
Larry Lipton, I work on the innovation unit.
Bilal Hashmi, and I manage the innovation unit.
Finally, good morning. My name is Phil McChesney, Broward County Assistant Chief Innovation Officer under Lenny Villalpando, who's the Chief Innovation Officer. I'm also the Director of the Consumer Protection Division, and small but mighty team and delivering great things.
And all of this was because you all, as an oversight board, said, gosh, can't you guys find a way to visualize for the public what it is that we're doing underground? I mean, we're doing all this work and we can't market it, we can't brand it, can't do signs about it. How do we tell a compelling story about all of this congestion management work that we're doing? And so based on that challenge, we went to work for a whole year to come up with this video. And I just couldn't be prouder of our partnership and of this team and of all of their creativity. And I wanted to also recognize the former Director of Traffic Engineering, Scott Bruner, who worked tirelessly with me to try to get the text perfectly to match the video and also to be accurate. So with that, we're just going to show it off. Is that okay? You guys have anything else you wanted to say? Okay, here we go.
The Mobility Advancement Program, brought to you by the Penny for Transportation, is a 30-year program of projects intended to transform the mobility landscape throughout Broward County. One of the program's major goals is to manage traffic congestion using innovative solutions. Adaptive traffic signal control and traffic management strategies offer safer, more responsive systems. Active traffic management occurs at the Traffic Management Center, where county and state engineers work side by side, monitoring our roadways. Installing fiber optic cables where none existed helps to create the backbone for many innovative signal strategies. Traffic control cabinets across the county are being upgraded with the latest technology. The fiber optic cables typically run under or beside a roadway and use thin glass
think we
fibers
need
and
to,
light to transmit
bring
large
this
amounts of
back
transportation data at
It's Friday
extremely high
when it
speeds.
all works,
The
okay?
transfer
I
occurs
think
so
it's
fast
enough
it's almost
importance
instantaneous,
for us to really
improving
see the
system
finished
performance and
product
reliability.
that everyone put
Fiber
together.
allows for better communications with signalized traffic intersections to promote a safer, more efficient experience for all users. Using specialized cameras, larger portions of intersections can be analyzed by adaptive algorithms. For those who drive, connected vehicle technology can display the amount of time to the next red or green signal, helping you manage your commute. So, how else are vehicles being managed? At the Traffic Management Center, video live feeds from all across the county provide information to ensure appropriate incident response. The TMC also contains innovative technology that allows buses to get priority. Lights stay green longer or red lights get shorter to help our transit system stay on schedule. Innovative technologies detect objects around intersections, allowing for a safer experience for everyone, no matter how you move around. So now you know about some of the investments Broward County is making that you can't necessarily see, whether under the ground or in traffic signals, to help make your community safer, more connected, resilient, and hopefully less congested. To learn more, visit mapbroward.broward.org and stay connected with us on social media. Look for Map Broward projects near you. When you see the traffic signal logo, the Go light, you know that your tax dollars are at work. But now you know that even when you might not be able to see it, Broward County is hard at work investing in the future of mobility.
It's on our webpage, it's on our YouTube page. We've blasted it out through social media, obviously. Very proud, and thank you all so much for your hard work on it. And I'm so glad it was
The
properly
mobility-
recognized.
Yes, thank you very much. Are they staying for lunch?
They absolutely should.
They
You
should go start,
absolutely
they should
stay for
start then,
lunch.
go that way.
Yeah, go eat, go eat.
Uh,
So one more.
one more?
One more, and this one is just for you guys, because again, none of this happens without the oversight board putting these challenges out there and saying, we need to do, and I'm so sorry that Shay isn't here because he's really been a leader in this from the very outset, and I hope he's listening. Again, based on your direction and your requests for public engagement, grassroots outreach, being creative in the way that we tell the story of the program and its impact. I applied, our team worked really hard on getting a beautiful application together, and I'm going to share it with you. And we received national recognition for our public information and civic engagement. And I'm going to share the application with you because it highlights the partnerships. Because again, none of this happens in a vacuum. It highlights all of the county agencies that support this program and this oversight board. It's not just like the tiny team of 10 people in map admin. And also all of the small businesses. So this goes to our CBE program. A lot of the public information, the public perception surveys, the focus groups, the logos, the branding, they were all done with the help of our small businesses, local Broward County based small businesses. And so I'm going to pass this out. I hope you all take a chance to read through it during lunch, but we were really proud. We brought back 3 national awards in 2024 for public information and civic engagement. So yay.
Anything else before we break for lunch?
No, just a reminder for all of the oversight board members, we'd love for you to test out the augmented and virtual reality experiences that have been created. again, at your request. So we have some testing facilities out front after you eat or before you eat, depending on what your preference is. We'll make sure that you get set up. Thank you.
How do you want to do that?
Good question. We have 2 VR pods and we have the conference room up front that's set up for the AR. So we can do 2 people at a time in VR and probably 2 to 3 people at a time for AR. I'm going to let you decide if you need to eat or take a biology break or take a call. Just meet us up front when you're ready and we'll take care of you. Okay?
All right. We are going to have a little bit of extra presentation before we get into the budget request. Corey has agreed to come back and give us a working video.
So, good afternoon, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your lunches. And this is a do-over. We kind of had some technical challenges this morning. And since the team worked really hard to put this video together just for this Surtax board, I would hope you allow us to share it with you at this time, please. Okay? All right. Thanks.
A new light rail could have you speeding above traffic from Fort Lauderdale Airport to Port Everglades.
We showed the rendering to Susan Rowley and her family.
Having spent a lot of time in Chicago and knowing how important it is to get around in traffic, I should think that would be very helpful.
Just go right there. Wouldn't be any side trips or worrying about where to go next.
South Florida, or Happy Freedom Day, as you see there on the back of the bus.
future begins with Broward County Transit, powered by Primo.
Thank you for letting us try that again. Okay, so okay.
Are you ready?
Just waiting for them to get the slide deck back up. And Mr. Chair and Oversight Board members, we are going to start the
Budget request?
budget request, but as we always do, this goes to Mr. Frazier's request about what is the surtax investment level per municipality. So the first slide you'll see after lunch break is the proposed surtax investments, the geographical analysis for all the surtax investments by municipality from 2019 through 2024. And these are obviously going to be investments that can be geolocated. So in just a second, we'll get the slide deck up and you'll be able to see that. And then just reorienting people to why we're here. So while we're waiting, I will, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair. One of the reasons that we're here today is because of the Broward County Code of Ordinances. And so I wanted to mention the fact that county staff that are assigned to support the Oversight Board are required by the ordinance to at least annually compile all county and municipal proposed projects and proposed expenditures that are going to be considered for funding with the transportation surtax proceeds. And that's consistent with the recommended budget, which was released by the county on July 15th. And we are presenting them to you so that the Oversight Board can approve them as to their statutory eligibility. So you get a very detailed look at the proposed 2025 budget today. And as you mentioned, Mr. Chair, there's no action that's going to be taken until next week. And so the agencies that have budget requests in the 2025 budget are here to describe in detail what it is that they'll be doing. Then if you all have any additional information that you would like, you'll have that whole week to get that information, and then also, you know, to absorb these slides, because I know it is a lot of information that you all are getting through. So with that, I'm sorry, let me go back. So this was the slide that I was referencing. This gives you a sense of the level of investment that's occurring in each of the municipalities, as well as the Broward Municipal Services District, which is that first bar all the way to the far left. And obviously this is limited to the things that we can actually try to geolocate. I know, Mr. Chair, you've asked that we do a separate analysis, and we are going to be working on that, getting that to you shortly. So right now we do double count projects, and we have done that consistently since we started doing this analysis for you back in 2021. We are going to look at it in several different ways based on your suggestion.
Just so.
Sure. So if a project that, so first of all, I just want for clarity to make sure that everyone understands that this is only surtax funding. So if a project has any other funding source in it, it is not included in this graph. We are working to create a graph that will also overlay on top of this, that will include all of the other funding sources, so that you can really see the order of magnitude that the surtax is creating in bringing down other funding and leverage. When I speak about double counting, if there's a project that goes through Hollywood, like Port Bypass Road, that project goes through Hollywood, Dania Beach, and Fort Lauderdale, touches all three of those municipalities. The surtax funding associated with the Port Bypass, and only the surtax funding, is actually included in the calculations in this chart for all three of those municipalities. Does that answer your question, Mr. Chair? Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to the Transportation Department.
Thank you, Gretchen. And just for your awareness, I have Tim Garland
Tim is the Deputy General Manager of our department, and it gives me great hope for him and sadness to share with you that Tim is retiring. He's going to be leaving us in January of next year, and he's been a tremendous asset to our department. But he's on to bigger and better things that have something to do with baseball and great stuff. And I don't know that he's going into the major leagues, but he's going to be closely tied to them. And at any rate, we will miss Tim. And I asked him to join me here because this is ceremonial, because we're passing the baton, so to speak. But, Tim was instrumental in getting us to this point. He was the one that drafted the plan that the voters actually voted on. And he was also instrumental in during like before you can even put a surtax on the table for the voters, there's a process that has to be followed. And that process includes an audit that says you are prepared to take on these funds and you are situationally ready to use the resources and you're prepared to do so. And Tim spent 2 weeks in a room with the auditors, 2 weeks, right, Tim? 2 weeks or more, in working to convince them that we're able to take on this responsibility and we're prepared to do so. So we owe a debt of gratitude to Tim for not only that, because without that, who knows where we would be with the surtax, but also for 8 years of dedication. 8, right? 13. Okay, 8 plus 5, 13. 13 years of dedication to Broward County Transit. We will definitely miss him, but we're going to tag team this report to you guys. And thank you so much for supporting Tim. He's going to be replaced by Angelica Jones. So we've been working through that transition plan. But we are going to truly miss you, Tim, and really appreciate all you've done for us. Thanks, Tim. Okay, so there's another thing that I'd like to share with you that we skipped over earlier today, and this is really important. We, from my understanding, for about the last 10 years, we've been trying to figure out a way to bring all of the transit assets that we have in the region from Miami-Dade, Broward County, and Palm Trans together so that it could be a seamless experience for all of our respective customers. And so what we've done is we've created an interoperability app now, and this has been in the works, I think, for 10 years or more. This interoperability app allows us to put all of our information, Tri-Rail, Broward County Transit, Palm Tran, and Miami-Dade Transit, one app, one stop, one place to go for all the information you need to navigate all of our systems and to pay for them. And so we are pleased to be able to bring that to you. We spent the last year, the leadership, Dave Deck, who's from SFRTA, he's executive director, Euless Coakley, who's the executive, who's my counterpart in Miami, and Clinton Forbes, who unfortunately passed away recently. But the four of us got together and said, we need to make this happen. And we're able to get that done. So I'm really particularly proud to share that with you because it is a game changer for us here in the region. Okay, so the next thing, the next slide is on our budget request for this year. So as you can see on the slide, overall, from a surtax perspective, we're asking for about $154 million. From that, we're also looking at a non-local total of about 3.4 million. And the total ask overall, or the total budget needs that for the year are 1.157 million. And it breaks down from a surtax perspective into 4 major categories. Transit ways, which is our bus rapid transit and light rail transit that we talked about earlier today, transit in general, transit infrastructure, and then our commuter rail service. Okay, so let's start off with BRT. So just as a reminder, I know we've talked about this many times, but I always like to ground the conversation, not only for those on the board, but other people listening in on the call here. BRT refers to our bus rapid transit. LRT is our light rail transit. Our bus rapid transit is transit. It's a branded bus service that'll run on various corridors throughout Broward County. The idea here is that you have level boarding, you have stations that are roughly a mile apart, you have traffic signals that give you priority, and you have where you can dedicated traffic lanes to allow the bus to move more quickly than the traffic is. And so we talked about earlier today that we have the Oakland Park Boulevard project that's underway. It's in the planning, it's in the project development and in preliminary environmental stages. And so that project is advancing. Next for us will be to move over to US 441 and State Road 7 for the next BRT opportunity. And then we also have the LRT project with the light rail. So overall, we're asking for about $6.5 million for design support for those projects. The next group we have are our transit. And in the transit category, we have three. That's our fixed route buses, our paratransit vehicles, and planning studies and surveys. And we're asking for 27.9 million there. With what's included in there, so for fixed bus routes, those are the buses that operate on our fixed route services. And we're asking for 9. So what we do here is we're looking at our replacement strategy. So every bus has a life cycle, right? It's going to run for so many miles and then it's not supposed to run anymore. And so we've made commitments to the FTA to retire our buses at a certain point. And as part of that plan, it's our asset management plan. For next year, we've identified 9 buses that need to be retired. So that's the $12.5 million that we're asking for. We're also asking for 79 vehicles in total for our paratransit service, 31 for expansion. So as we talked about earlier, we saw that increase in our paratransit service, roughly 17%. We don't expect that to change and go down. And so we need to increase our fleet size to accommodate that expansion. And then we have what's called for state of good repair. So those are the paratransit vehicles that we need to replace. And so we're looking at converting all of those vehicles to propane. So these entry new vehicles will be part of our propane service or propane fueled fleet. And then of course for planning and surveys. So we need to do a lot of planning as a transit organization. That's kind of fundamental. And so we have general planning consulting. And then these resources also help us with our performance management and tracking, environmental assessments as we need them, and our surveys and specification development. So we have to have a point of truth in an organization, right? Where you have documented processes and procedures and specifications that you can go to when you have questions, and they inform how you're supposed to operate your business. And so that's what these general planning consultants help us do. One thing I just want to point out here is that, we talked about the COA, the Comprehensive Operational Analysis, earlier today. That process is informing for us what we should do with our system going forward. And what I want to share with you is that we did have, this is how important survey information is to you as part of your business. And every business does this. And I think a lot of times people think of transit as, a public service, but we are in the consumer business, right? That's where we are. We're in that space. And because we're in that space, we need to know what our customers need, what they want, and how we can retain our customers and acquire new ones. So we're in that acquisition stage all of the time as well. So surveying is very important. That's a way for us to figure out what people want and how we can serve them best. And as part of a recent survey that we did, we had, it was an online survey. We had about 488 respondents. Of that, 61% of them were BCT current riders, and the remainder, 34%, were non-riders. I'm sorry, 59% of my thing is here is horrible. And so of those riders, we were able, or sorry, of those folks that responded, we were able to find out what would make them feel better about us, basically. And what they told us is that they want us to improve the frequency of service, right? They don't want to wait in the sun. They don't want to wait for any extended period of time for our service. They want us to expand our service, which is the answer. We're answering the mail with Primo on that front. They want us to provide early service, early morning and late night service, right? Late shift connect. That's the answer to that. And they want us to look at on-demand more. Like, how can we integrate on-demand service into our existing service providers? And they want better connection. So if they're going to transfer from one bus to another one, they want that to be quick and seamless. And what they told us that we could do better at, sir, is to do better with our connections. They told us our connections were taking too long. That, you know, that if, you know, our service, some of it's hourly, half hour. If you miss your connection, that adds time to your commute. It's definitely not an ideal scenario. And they asked us to do better at cleaning and safety. Those are the things that they've asked us to look at. So on one hand, you know, we just opened our new bus wash at our Copens facility. So we're answering the mail there. We've also been working with BSO on a security agreement that will help us with some of our security on our system. And then we've also increased our security with private resources and with the Lauderhill Police Department at our Lauderhill station. There's Lauderhill Transit Center.
I have a question on the $5 million in 1 year for planning, studies, and services. Seems high. If you're saying you're dealing with $22 million worth of construction or cost, or is that planning and studies for something that's not on that page? I'm just saying $5 million is over 20% of the 27.9 you're spending, and it just seems out of proportion. And that's my comment.
Thank you for your comment. I mean, so that $5 million commitment is for several areas. So transportation planning and support, which is not only planning service, but schedule development and things like that. Performance measurement and environmental assessments, which we do have to do those on a regular basis. Anytime we need to change service, we have to go through what's called a Title VI analysis. This is something that helps us with that as well. We have specifications that we need to establish and develop. And so it's in the consulting world, $5 million is not a lot. It may seem that way, but it's not.
Well, how many people is that going to employ?
I would be guessing what that number was, sir. So we don't contract directly with people. We contract directly with a firm. And then depending on the scope.
Contractors that you're hiring.
We're hiring firms to do this. This isn't our staff. This isn't staff doing this.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have?
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned under fixed route buses, that includes your retirement program for the existing cycling buses through the system. With the problems or the issues that you're facing relative to the electric buses, should you defer next year's or some period of time replacement schedule to keep buses available in the event that you have more problems with the electrical buses?
So you're like 2 slides ahead of me, but let me just answer that question now because it's going to be relevant when I get to it in the discussion. You're absolutely right. We are not in the best place when it comes to our electric fleet. And for us to continue down that path and continue to buy electric buses at this point in time is not advisable. We don't want to do that. What we're doing is we're putting a placeholder here for now. And as we work through what the next mix of buses we should have that get us to the greener solution, we're not trying to go to diesel. That just is not a wise decision. And there are other fuel options in the market other than electric that can get us to low emission levels. Our commissioners have voted for an electric fleet. And in all fairness to them, we are doing our due diligence to figure out what the next answer should be to get us to a space where we can answer the mail of being greener and present that to our commission for their vote, for them to say, okay, let's move off of, or can you find another solution to stay on the electric path? So there's a couple additional steps that we have to do here before we can move forward. But we do know that we're not going to throw good money after bad. Does that answer your question, sir?
It does, but the concern that I have now is there some communication to the board relative to, or the county commissioners relative to the risk that you face on the electrical bus? So, I mean, they're saying we want electric bus, but right now your recommendation to us is we don't buy additional electric buses until this market or this particular firm emerges from bankruptcy, etc.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to imply that. Let me clear that up if I've left that with that impression. The situation that we're in now with our electric buses is we've got 2 paths of closure here, or 3. One is we're working through the legal issues because, you know, there were certain commitments made to the bankruptcy court that they're not living up to. So that's one path that we're following. The other path that we're following is the aftermarket issues with suppliers. So the Proterra is the supplier. They went out of business. When they decided to design their buses, they chose a lot of off-the-shelf type manufacturers to support that. So we're looking at a way to figure out how we can find other alternative suppliers to what they provided to us to help us with the parts that we need to keep the electric fleet running. And the other solution is for us to find an engineering answer. So for our reliability concerns, what's failing? Why is it failing? Is there an engineering solution to it that will help us stop the failures? So we're pausing the electric procurements because of that, because we have to solve the problem we have in front of us. In the meantime, we're looking to see what other options are out there. And once we figure those out, we'll be able to put a comprehensive plan together for our county administrator. And then we would move forward with a recommendation based on that for our commission to approve. So we are in the very preliminary stages of that process right now. Okay. Next slide. Okay. So this is for our transit infrastructure. It includes the design for various infrastructure projects, bus stop improvements, bus shelters. We're looking at adding about 125 pole-mounted solar bus stop lights. One of the things that we heard from our passengers as part of that surveying effort was that you know, they don't feel particularly secure at some of our bus stops, and not all of them are lit. Right. And so one of the ways to get around that, and since we have the natural beauty of the sun here in South Florida, we're able to use solar power to help us light up those facilities. So we're really trying to have an additional benefit to our customers that they're asking for. And so we're also updating our bus signs to help people better know where our bus stops are, and then also adding My Ride signs. We're adding 45 new bus shelters. And then here is where I was going to talk about the electric charger infrastructure. Again, placeholder, this is a pause, regardless of whether or not we use electric as our fuel source. Whatever fuel source we choose, it's likely that we're going to need some kind of infrastructure to support it. And so that's why that's on there as kind of a placeholder. We also have the some project management services for our Copens facility and what's called CE&I. Those services are there to help us oversee the construction activities. And then we have work at the Hollywood Transit Facility and then future transit facilities. And so the future transit facilities, that includes our any future transit facility that we might need either for light rail, commuter rail, or for our bus rapid transit, any of our primo projects. And then we also have the IT enhancements that fall into this transit infrastructure piece through our CAD AVL service. And that's a roughly 21 million. What the CAD AVL will do for us is it's an upgrade to our existing system. It'll allow us to add better communications between our buses and a central command center, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. It'll help us also do better activities with our yard management of our fleet, and also with our electronic signage, incident management, and driver safety. So the system that we're looking at putting in has the capability of capturing the biometric activities of our drivers, and we can use that as a tool to help us train on issues that we're seeing in the field. So this gives us a lot of connectivity and information that we are currently struggle to get, and that we'll be able to have at our fingertips. Yes, sir.
Because the 60 million is such a big number, could you go and explain a little bit more what
the
$60
Copens
million
Control Center
you're buying?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, thank you for this question. I love this question. So I just want you to think about, you've heard the terminology air traffic controller, right? You see those big towers in an airport and those towers command the activity of all the airplanes in the air. Right now, we have a very mini traffic control environment here at PCT. Where we're going, though, is into an integrated control center. And an integrated control center has some very key elements that we need to operate the primo services. We need to have a space where information is coming in from our commuter rail, from our light rail, from our bus rapid transit, and then from our regular bus service. That information comes in and we're able to maneuver our equipment. We're able to navigate traffic. We're able to anticipate and forecast challenges that are in front of us and make changes to our route structure. And what we have now is, I would equate to probably pre-2000 activities in our command center. And we certainly don't have the bandwidth to take in what's necessary for light rail. Light rail has signals, it has power, it has vehicle operations. We don't do any of that now. We just have to worry about vehicle operations. With commuter rail, it's not likely that we're going to be doing the dispatching for commuter rail, but on the back end, we have to have some integration with the dispatch service that will be provided likely through the FECR.
So this is a physical hard space.
Yes, physical hard space.
To manage all this stuff.
Manage all the stuff. So this is like
Thank you.
Our new air traffic controller space with real airplanes. And I'm just kidding, not real airplanes. So, not real airplanes. Okay, and the last one we have is our Broward Commuter Rail South. We're asking for roughly $4.5 million here to add to our pot. We, as you know, the original projection for costs for BCR South was roughly 297 million. We came to you last year, we asked for a little more. We're now at a different stage in our preliminary engineering, so we're at about right at this point in time, we were just under 30% or so of our design, and so we estimated that we needed about $4.5 million additional. So the current cost for our commuter rail project is roughly 317. We will be coming back for more as we hopefully not much more. But as you know, for those of you who have done project delivery on before, when you're using planning dollars, you're kind of guessing a lot. You're using the best information that you have to make cost decisions. As you have engineering plans, they become more refined, and you're able to really know what those costs are. There is definitely a challenge in our industry when it comes to costs and cost escalations. Our costs in the transit industry are going higher than in other industries in general. And so it costs us more money to do a project than it does, for example, the private sector to do it. We don't know why that's happening, but it is an industry trend that it's unfortunate. So because of that, I just want to kind of lay the foundation that at some point, as we move through these cycles of our design development, and we get closer and closer and closer to a final design, we'll be in a space of knowing exactly what those costs will be. We have done our value engineering, so I don't want you to think that we're out there spending willy-nilly and that we're not trying to contain our costs. But there's just some of these unknowns out there that we can't control in the market. The other thing that I just want to put a cautionary note out about is that one of the things we want to really try our best to avoid is to do what some projects do, and they shortchange you on the front end, right? You try to keep your capital costs so low that on the back end, you end up with higher maintenance costs because you made your numbers for the capital delivery side, but you made decisions that unfortunately affect your long-term maintenance, and then that becomes your higher cost. And you pay for it either way. You either pay it from the front end or you pay it on the back end. And so what we're doing to address that concern is that we have our maintenance team at the table with us in these early planning stages and early design stages to make sure that we're not value engineering out of a capital investment that ends up costing us even more money on the maintenance side. Why this is important to you is because the surtax, not only are you providing our capital investment, but you're also here to provide some of our O&M costs. So I just want you to be aware of the fact that we are balancing that dynamic and not wanting to ever be in a place where we are pulling out so much money from the capital side that we end up with a maintenance nightmare. And I unfortunately have lived that in other transit agencies that I've worked for. I will tell you, in Philadelphia with SEPTA being an older system at the time that I worked there, that was one of the biggest challenges was, the state of good repair, making sure that the system stayed whole. DC, same problem, systems not as old. One of those things where everybody was gung-ho on the expansion. Let's get it done. Let's build out. Did a fantastic job on that. But there were some decisions made that now 30 years later, 20 years later, that ended up costing a lot of money. We had the foresight earlier, and as example, tunnel liners. There was a decision not to put them in some locations. Well, water travels. And as a result of that, then you have the flood in your subway tunnels, and that shorts your power, and you have lots of system issues. So we, as an industry, have learned to not do that, to be conscious of that when we are building out new infrastructure projects. So I just wanted to share that with you so you have that understanding of what we're up against here. I see a question.
Mr. Chairman, last year we had a major supplemental budget request for the Copens facility. That design had changed, and there you came back to us and you said you needed a significant amount of additional money. Is this money that's in here for Copens for your control tower or control process? Was that included in what we?
No, that was not
authorized?
included in that, what you authorized. In fact, the original plan was for this, and Tim is going to probably help me out with this one. The original plan was that we were going to have this integrated control center at our Broward County, or Broward Central Terminal. We were going to build a facility there, and it would have been at that location. The alternative is, because we're doing the Copens project, we can integrate this into the project versus trying to build a freestanding structure at the terminal. So help me out with this one, Tim.
So yeah, if you recall, there was that joint government or center facility that was planned for downtown Fort Lauderdale, between the county and Fort Lauderdale. And as that project kind of fell through, we were going to actually have 4 floors in that project. One of those floors was going to be for this integrated command center. So without that project and being able to go forward on that project, we really have an opportunity with the space that we built, the shell of a building. We actually have space in that new facility at Copens that we're able to then come in with the technology and the guts of what that control center would be. A call center, the various bus rapid transit, our regular bus service, and future rail services all will be in that one facility. So this is just really taking what we were always planning to do at a different location and taking the opportunity to put it into a new one.
I think to be fair, there was a small space carved out into the Copens to do that. So it's not like it was overlooked, but this integrated control center is best positioned to be there now that we're doing this renovation and have no plans to do the work at the terminal.
And what's the status on the Broward facility?
The Broward, it's not going anywhere as far as we know at this point.
The money that we invested in the purchase of that is not being used then because you're putting the money into Copens.
So yes, so the original allocation for that money is just moving over into the Copens bucket for the control center. The facility that Tim was referencing was going to be for administrative building. It would have had on the bottom floor, it would have been the terminal at the passenger level, and the higher floors were for general administration. So we're in this building. We would have moved into the building downtown, and as part of that, there would have been a control center, integrated control center there.
Okay.
And I want to also say something about the control center that we're doing that is extremely unique. We're moving in what we can do in terms of state of the art. So we're wanting to build, use technology to the fullest extent that we can in this new facility to leverage as much artificial intelligence that makes sense for us in this facility, so that we can have some don't have to have so much intervention when we're making decisions on changing routes or manipulating in times of challenge. And the other thing is that traditionally in transit you don't have all of the resources you need to respond to the public concerns in one area. And you may have your customer service folks over in their own area. You may have your media people in another area. You may have your control center in a different area. And we're putting all of those resources in one place. So when something goes wrong, we have the capability of having those resources co-located so that we can respond to the issue real time and push out information to our passengers and the general public as necessary in real time. And as you all know, if anybody uses Twitter or social media or X or whatever it is, X, a lot of times companies are communicating through those platforms when there's disruptions and challenges. That is true for our for transit as well. And so when we get this situation all set up, we're doing it in smaller incremental changes now in the control center. But this allows us to go bigger and broader and make it more of an integrated service for our passengers. The last slide is for the operating budget. And so this year we're asking for $153 million. That is up from previous years, about 56% last year of the operating budget. Last year, I think we were at about 48% asked. Our operating budget is about $260 million. The reason that it's gone up is obviously we have more costs because we have the new contract with our operators and our mechanics with the ATU, which is the union that represents the majority of our workforce. So we have those factors. But the factor is the COVID relief funds are gone now. There's none of those anymore. So there's not even a trickle of that left. And that requires us to provide more support into our operating fund. The Late Shift Connect, talked about that earlier today. I just want to, there was a question earlier about, what do our passengers contribute to Late Shift Connect for the fares? Absolutely do. I said that earlier. Just to clarify, we require them to pay the $2 fare that they would have to pay for the bus. So that's what they pay first. Then we have up to a $30 subsidy. And then anything over and above that, the passenger has to pick up that difference. The other thing is that we're going from 5 trips a week to 7. And they were only allowed to have 1 trip a day. Now, if they need to have more than 1 trip a day, they can do that, particularly for those passengers that may be going to a different job. And their entire trip, if it happens between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m., can be done through the Late Shift Connect. And that's why we've seen the increase in activity on our Late Shift Connect, which we're really proud of because we're answering the mail that our passengers who can't get to work during those shifts on our buses, or if they don't have cars, they're able to do so now.
I have a question maybe for Gretchen. Is this surtax supplement to operating budget was it in our performer of expectations of expenditures, so we're on target? We're not sinking any ships?
No, the original financial plan that Tim worked on included a surtax supplement to the transit operating. I think the question that you all have asked consistently on an annual basis is, does the county maintain a general fund contribution to the transit operating? And they do, and you all will be seeing that in a slide that's being presented by Transit next Friday as part of their 5-year plan.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the last thing on this sheet here is the microtransit program. And I mentioned to you earlier today that we have the comprehensive operational analysis that's currently underway. And we are, based on the initial findings of that analysis, it is recommending that we do some level of microtransit. They have not finalized what that looks like. So we've identified this as a placeholder so that once that plan is complete, we will be able to move forward with a microtransit program. This assumes that we'll do at least 5 zones somewhere in the county. We don't know where those 5 zones will be until after the operational analysis is done. But we are reserving these funds to be able to answer the mail immediately after that analysis is done, so that we can provide that service. Incidentally, when I talked about the survey that was done before, there is a demand for micro transit. We know that ride sharing, it's a big deal, right? But we do have routes that are underperforming. And for those routes, this might be the answer. But again, we'll need to come back to you once that analysis is done. I'd love to share with you our findings, love to share with you what it's going to look like going forward. I'm so excited that we are in this space of being able to do that. And, you know, we just are recognizing that commuting patterns, particularly in transit, have changed since COVID. We're seeing more weekend ridership. We're seeing more midday ridership. You know, we still see that 9 to 5 kind of commuting happening, but it's shifting. And that's happening across the country. And so microtransit is likely a solution to some of that shift. And I'm happy, Tim and I are happy to answer any questions that you have. I have one more.
Thank you. I don't think we have any.
I don't. They do. No, sorry. Okay, community shuttle. This is the last page here. Thank you. So for community shuttle, we're asking for $11 million to support our community shuttle program. The total ask is over 20 million. That includes the new buses and equipment. It also includes bus stop improvements, and we're expanding services in Fort Lauderdale, Hallandale Beach, Lauderhill, Lauderdale Lakes, Hollywood, and North Lauderdale. So again, this is anticipating that the COA supports those expansions in those communities. What we did find from the survey that we did is that our passengers that use the community shuttle program, they tend to be skew 50 plus on one hand. They also are more committed riders than some of our other riders. And this is the only way, in some cases, those folks can get around, and they are unfortunately on fixed incomes and on the lower at times spectrum of the economic scale. So we do know that community shuttle is definitely a benefit to the community. And we really look forward to continuing to grow that program. And it's also important for our last mile connectivity. You know, transit can only get you so close sometimes. A bus can't go everywhere. It doesn't make sense sometimes to go everywhere. And this is the extension of the service that we can provide to very localized niche markets that otherwise a full bus would not serve. You might have 1 or 2 passengers on it, which is not the best and highest use for our larger buses. So this is the last one, right? This is truly the last one.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Right now, only 18 cities have community shuttles. Are the community shuttle tied into the rest of the system so there's connections there?
Yes, sir.
Looking at this from the big picture, transportation is the whole county. Are we shorting ourselves by not having community shuttles in the cities that don't have them for whatever reason? Number one. Number two, the cities that don't have them, this money's coming out of the MAG, which comes out of all the cities, right? So basically, we're taking money for 18 cities to run a community shuttle that's coming out of a big pile that deletes everybody's pile, correct?
So I'm going to take a stab at that and just say this, that the cities that we have currently, it's available to everybody.
These are the cities that have opted in. They've chosen to be part of the community shuttle.
And just,
Yeah.
just to clarify, when this was all put together, the idea was to make sure that we could maintain the status quo, to maintain the system that was there. So money was put in and programmed for the long term for the existing community shuttle cities and the community shuttle program. So that money was set aside and planned for everything. And then we decided that if there were effective routes and needs that could come up subsequent to that, those would be what you saw as those expansion projects. So I do think what Corey talked about earlier, like the COA, looking at it, there are opportunities for expansions where needed, where possible, but this was completely planned for and had a specific budget just to maintain the status quo over the course of the Surtax or the community shuttle program.
I think there needs to be some more discussion about this community shuttle. What I perceive is, first of all, the system has to be countywide. Why they don't have one, I don't know, but it's clear to me that if we're gonna make the big system work and the little system is the last mile, we need the last mile everywhere, number one. Number two, there appears to be some inequity in the cities that today don't have the shuttle for whatever reason. They don't, but it also, that doesn't make our big system as good as it could be. So I don't have an answer. I just have a question I think needs to be looked at further.
So if you would just give us if you indulge us just until after we have the COA, and that will inform where these micro transit last mile solutions, what they should look like, be best. If you just give us that will be done. And I think we'll have the first final draft of the report sometime in November. We'll have to go through the internal socialization process. So I don't know if you have a meeting early next year that we could come back and share, at least share with you where we are, what we learned, what the possible is. And then, we can certainly continue to talk about that.
I consider this just refinements of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Nothing else? Okay, we can play the video again if you want. No, just kidding. Then thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Tim. Where are you going? Can you say?
No, I'm actually going to move to Arizona, to Phoenix, and live on the light rail system there.
Well, it's a little hotter out there, buddy.
A little hotter, yeah, sure. Yeah.
But no hurricanes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I got a little confused here on our order because that was the municipal surtax program. That was item 4, right? We did 1 and 2, then we jumped to 4. And did we skip over?
No, you're all the way down at the bottom. So go to Roman numeral 2. You're going to be on the 3rd bullet.
The which?
Roman numeral 2, 3rd bullet. This is Public Works Capital.
Well, I have 5 things at the bottom, right? We did the first 2, right?
Yes.
Then we just did municipal surtax program, community shuttle and project.
No, that's
I got
next.
confused.
Yeah, the municipal surtax program is actually after Public Works. So forgive me. Yeah.
So now
it's
we're
an
ready for
error.
public works?
Mhm.
Oh, I don't know how we got talking about the shuttle, but that's okay.
You were disappointed.
He was ready.
They get 2 bites of the apple, huh?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We're back again. We're here to talk about the Public Works budget requests for this upcoming fiscal year. And let's dive right into it. Oops, we won't. We will now dive right into it. Before we get into the requests themselves, just a real quick summary of where we've been the last couple of years since the program started. This is a breakdown of the expenditures according to the different categories that I think all of you are familiar with in terms of how we group our projects. The biggest one is the capacity expansion projects, and a lot of the expenditures came last year, the last fiscal year, for the bypass road and then also the Pine Island Road project. Other than that, there's some other notable areas. We continue to make steady improvements or expenditures into our adaptive signal control program. Mr. Damas mentioned that earlier this morning. We're going to have a discussion about that next week in terms of exactly where we're at and so forth. And expenditures into our drainage program for resiliency that we've also talked about this morning with Mr. Tan. And so this is just a quick summary of where we are before we get into where we're going next. This is our budget request for this upcoming year. It's about $77 million, and it is in again the same categories that that we have discussed in the past with regards such as adaptive fiber and road capacity and so forth. There are about 45, a little bit over 45 projects in total that sums up and make up the $77 million. And I'm going to go through it the same way, in the same manner that I have done with the board in the past. I'm going to go over each one of the projects, and so that you know what the money is being spent for. Because there are a lot of them, I don't want to, once again, I don't want to spend time on the ones that are no changes to them or minimum issues with the projects. They're just the next step in our 5-year program. But I do want to, what I will do, as I've done in the past, is that as I come through projects that I want to make sure that the board is aware of, there's some changes to it, I'm going to highlight them and spend a little bit more time with them and so forth. So it's pretty much the same thing, same way that we've done it in the past. So starting with the first one is the adaptive signal control project on Sheridan Street. There's really no changes to it, both in terms of when we're planning to do it and the budget that we're planning to spend and so forth. The next one is on Weston Road. Again, is the same, is the same issue, is the same situation. No change from what we had previously planned to do or how much we plan to spend on Weston Road. And when that gets going, it will help us tied into some of these large residential area in the western side of the county. Fiber project, we'll continue to build out our fiber backbone. Copens Road, it starts to tie into, and it's going to allow us to tie it into, we've been proceeding along Pine Island Road is going to allow us to tie our backbone into State Road 7, where FDOT has also built a fiber connection, so it allowed us to connect it, provide us redundancy and so forth as we go forth. The next project is F11 I-595 alignment. This is going to work together with our adaptive project on tying the western side of the county into the remaining, into the portion of our system. So again, no change to it from what we have planned to do and so forth. F12. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please.
You use your mic.
From past 5 years so far, or maybe you can include, with the requested, funding, what percentage of, the total project for fiber optic, the backbone has been completed or will be completed by next year?
Within the program, I would say it's probably 50 to 60% of it have been initiated. But because the thing about it too, and that's kind of really interesting, is that the way we've been doing our fiber program is that we've been working very closely in conjunction with FDOT, and so they built a lot of the fiber on the east side of the county and then also on the major roadways. So we're not building this fresh. We're not building an entire parallel system. So that's why we're able to take advantage of it and leverage it, and then, get into, what we really want to do. And I think, so it's not entirely that we've been able to do all of it, but we've certainly working in conjunction with FDOT is something that, that we've been able to do. The next one is F11. I think I just discussed that. And F12 is extension of Pine Island Road fiber. It just continues to go north into it. It allows, the tying into our system. F15 is it's just another extension of, it's just the next scheduled phase of the extension of our fiber program. So F17, Royal Palm, as we go north, we also have the opportunity to, F15, we also have the opportunity to, again, make the tide into and connections with, going in the east-west direction, making the connection with existing fiber and fiber that we also have plans to build. Commercial Boulevard, what's that? One more. There it goes. Sorry about that. So it's similar issues. Again, no change from what we have planned so far. So the next group of projects that I want to get into is the intersection projects. This is there's no change to it, but it's a very good project from the standpoint of in the downtown Fort Lauderdale area. A couple of years ago, we eliminated a lane right around this area in order to build a sidewalk to improve pedestrian safety in this area. This is just a continuation of that. We're going to go across the railroad. We're going to again make a safe pedestrian walkway through the railroad tracks. There's a lot more activity in the area in the last couple of years, and I think this will be something that'll be very good for the neighborhood. So yeah, please, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
Tony, if this is the intersection of Flagler, that's with the railroad, the streets, and it's a mess.
It's difficult, and
Has
it's
it
been
been designed? According to this, it's already been designed, right?
We're in the designing process right now. We're working very closely with the FEC Railroad. We got to go through a lot of hoops in order to get their approval.
Are you working at all with any of the businesses in that area?
We've
I
worked
may
with.
not normally do that, but I have heard from a lot of those people. I don't hear much from people, but I've heard about that intersection.
We have actually worked with one of the property owners that are adjacent to. We've actually worked with them very closely for many years, and we were able to install that walkway sort of right in front of his property. Was something that was not a walkway, a sidewalk that was what was needed for pedestrians to walk through. So we've been working very closely with some of the property owners in that area, but I think that's something that the neighborhood, like you said, is something that because of all of the different angles and that goes on, it's something that it's going to be very much appreciated and needed when we
So that's
implement
going
it.
to be done in 2025?
We're gonna start. The budget is going to be available in 2025. We still have some steps that we're going through in terms of the design and working it through with the FEC Railroad. But we plan to use that funding to start that sometime during fiscal 25. So the next project is our I-103 is our intersection Group 1 projects. It actually consists of 4 intersections that we identified as a group through one of our studies that we've been doing. That those projects are in design phases. This is the construction dollars that will become available, so we can initiate the construction as soon as the design is ready. So the next project is I-104. It is the next group of projects that are going to come along that we can start doing work on that to hopefully do similar type of things that we've talked about earlier this morning. Previously we actually planned to start this a year later, but the way that, you know, we've been moving things along, that we've got a couple intersections that I think that we can start a year earlier. So that's why we want to have the funding available a year earlier. We need a little bit less money because we've only got a couple of the intersections identified that we can move ahead at this point in time. But it's a good thing, I think, that we want to be able to move some of these things along as quickly as we can. And the next project is a capacity expansion project, is the Pine Island Road capacity from Commercial Boulevard to McNabb, and is the next phase of the expansion of Pine Island Road. And this project, what we're going to be doing, what we actually will be doing is these couple projects with Pine Island Road, we've been working very closely with FDOT on. They've been providing us funding with quite a few of these projects. On this one, we will be we expect to sign a funding agreement with FDOT for $1 million for the design of this project. During construction, when construction starts in a couple of years, we expect that they will also contribute to the construction of this project in a couple of years. But we'll work on the details of that and obviously advise the board when the time comes. But we'll have the leverage of about $1 million from FDOT in this project. So the drainage projects now we want to get into a little bit. DO4, Northeast 6th Avenue, and we need an additional $4.5 million for construction. This is one that Mr. Tan talked about earlier this morning, and in terms of the reasons for why we need the funding and what we're trying to do and so forth. So I'm not going to repeat all of that, but this is where it ties back into the earlier morning discussion. And the next project is DO6 is that we've actually are trying to move this project. The DO6 is the southern part of 6th Avenue. And it has the same issues as what we just talked about earlier. And we're just trying to move this project along a little quicker because, again, there is that urgency with regards to many and most, just about all of these drainage type projects. D106, Mr. Tan also discussed that this morning, Roosevelt Gardens drainage, and then he just talked about the reason on why we need to now do a detailed evaluation of it. So $1 million request for design for this upcoming fiscal year. D107, it is a new project. This is not one that you have seen. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to do two things one time, and obviously I'm not very good at it. And so this is D107, and this is a new project. This is an area that we try to get funding for, and we apply for funding in this neighborhood. We were not successful in this first time going around, and I think as we go through it, there is definitely that need for it. We're going to continue to pursue different avenues as we go forth, like we do for all of our other projects. But the reason that this is new is because the recent flooding situation and up to now, our inability to get grant funding for it up to this time. The next one is our bridge maintenance, a bridge rehab project, replacement project, is the 4th 7th Avenue Bridge. We're currently in the design phase of this project at the moment, and the way that we've been able to develop the design of the project is that we have determined the best way to do it is actually do it in phases. And so by doing the first phase, we can actually hold off the expenditures for another year on the second phase of it. So that's the reason we have reduced the budget for this year and this request, but we will, but we're shifting the second phase of the project into just a subsequent year.
The cost, it says construction 10, then it says construction 19.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Is it
Please.
10, is it 10 million next year and another 19 in the following year? What, I don't know.
I didn't explain that well enough. Sorry, my apologies. The original budget request was 19 million. It is 19 million. What we want to do is that we want to break it into two phases, 10 million this upcoming year, 9 million the following, the
So the
following year.
total is 19.
Yeah, the total is still 19. There's
Okay.
no, we shifted it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, the next project is the Dixie Highway resurfacing and road improvements. And this is one project that I do want to talk to the board about. This is an excellent project. It's a very good project. It's actually a project that's a multi-agency involvement with it. The cities of Hallandale Beach, City of Hollywood, and actually the MPO took the initiative of this. Oh, excuse me, just one step back. This is a county road, but the cities have taken real initiative in terms of developing the Dixie Highway corridor for this project. And they spent money doing traffic studies, identifying the concepts of how they would like to improve that road. And and the concept was brought to our commission back in November of last year and was approved by a commission that they will be installing a multi-purpose path along in there. They're going to be doing a lot of pedestrian-friendly type improvements, some drainage improvements, and essentially will be an excellent project for the cities, an excellent project on a county road, and the MPO and so forth have been involved in terms of the planning of it. The reason we want to do this and move it up at this time is that we want to be able to do two things. One is that we want to be able to tie into the design of the rail, the southern part, the rail project that Corey mentioned earlier, that there's going to be a rail station along the route right next to just north of Hollywood Boulevard, right next to Dixie Highway. So we want to be able to start our planning of the improvements of this, tied in together, and make sure that we fit within the design of the rail station that's going to be located there. And then that's one key thing. And then the second key thing is that with all of this different cities' involvement and, what it's going to do for the entire neighborhood, it's really puts us into good opportunity to apply for grants for this project. So we want to be able to have our projects far enough along in the design and gets us into a position that we can apply for grant funding that will be available. So this is an excellent project. The board has approved the concept of it. They're going to be, one thing I forgot to mention is that they're actually going to be reducing lanes, one of the travel lanes, in order to allow the construction of the multi-purpose path. So it's going to be improve the safety of the entire area, the entire corridor. So it'll be once we get into the design of it, we'll bring it back to the board and show you all the different aspects of it. And it's an excellent project that the cities have been taking the initiative of and have been it's just will be a very good project for the entire area. The next project is B28 62nd Street improvements. And we are constructing that. We're advancing the schedule so that we can construct it together with a couple other projects that have already been approved. So it just improve the timing of it, that we can do some of these projects in conjunction with the intersection and mass arm, and then also the sidewalk projects that we can all get done together at the same time. So it will be minimized disruption to the entire neighborhood. Atlantic Boulevard resurfacing. Thank you. Okay,
Tony, can I just
Atlantic
ask
Boulevard.
a layman's question? We talk about resurfacing. Then we got to spend a couple $100,000 on design, and then we got to do it. We're doing something more than resurfacing, because you're not just resurfacing what's there, apparently. Is that right?
I'm sorry, sir.
Well, you got a lot of money for design on the resurfacing, and I'm just trying to wonder. You're not just resurfacing. You're doing more than just resurfacing.
Yeah,
That's a
it's-
bad word.
Yeah, and it's probably, we should have used the, different types of. the different-
Rejuvenating or something.
Yeah, because there's road improvements that's associated, with it. In many cases, if we can,
You're bringing it up. The code, I guess, is another way of looking at it.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yep. And that's an excellent point. So, and we're doing, one of the main reasons for doing it is that in the case of this project, there has been a request from the cities to, help with some of the road improvements and resurfacing, of this segment of the roadway.
I have to come back to this. I think of Coral Springs, and I think it's all brand new. Now we're resurfacing out there. So the question is, how often do we have to resurface these streets? Because we're doing this today. We're going to be around, not me, but for another 20 some years, they're going to come back and we're going to be resurfacing again, right?
Well, it's the, An can speak more to, more about that, but it's in the range of, what? 15 years. Yeah.
It's almost as bad as I found concrete over the last 50 years.
So for those that are on the line, that was 15 years is the useful life of asphalt.
It's unfortunately is one of those things that that we have to do on a regular basis, because if we don't, then the asphalt starts to unravel. It starts getting worse, and it's going to be more more money as we get into it. So
I think it's important to realize that maintenance, as we shall know, it's ongoing.
yeah,
It just keeps.
absolutely, absolutely. So the next two projects, actually B61 and B62. Yeah, okay. So B61 and B62 are on Sheridan Street, close to the bridge improvement project that we are currently in the process of working on. And we have advanced these two projects to be done in the same time as the bridge rehab, the bridge project. So that, again, we're trying to package a lot of these projects together so that they can minimize impact to the public. The next one is B108, and B108 is a new project, and it is down in a section. It's down in the eastern portion of Miramar Boulevard, and the main driving force for this project is a safety concerns that have been raised over the years for this area. What you can see on the map here is that is a curved road. The road was never designed and constructed right from the beginning. It was there's no curvature to it. It's just a flat road. People driving to there, and unfortunately, there are some speeding in that area. So on either side of the curve, cars coming in, and any one of them that speeds have hit houses along the on both sides of the road. We have done a lot in the last couple of years to minimize and reduce the impact of these type of collisions. We put in guardrails. We put in those raised pavement markings, so when you drive on it, you can hear it, so that you can feel it, so that people would start to slow down. We put in lights, and we've done a lot of the interim things in this area to improve the situation of the road. But the real fix of it is that the road needs to be reconstructed. There's got to be rebuilt with like a pitch to it, so that even if someone is going through it with a little higher speed than they do, they're not going to be running in off the road into the houses and so forth. So this is a strictly very much needed safety improvement project, and is a new project that is something that needs to be done for that neighborhood there. So the next one is also a very interesting safety related project, and this is the B109 is a new project, Northwest 31st Avenue. I'm sure all of us have driven along Northwest 31st Avenue at some point in time. It's a county roadway, 6 lanes, minor arterial, a lot of traffic in there residents and businesses on both, on both sides of it. Unfortunately, over the years, that there have been some crashes and accidents and serious accidents on the side of the road. We're currently in the process of taking a look at it as part of our safety action plan that we're looking at, trying to identify safety, strictly looking at safety improvements of what can be done on this road. And we're taking a look at it at a main segment of this roadway that takes care of where a lot of the crashes have occurred, over the years. And what we want to do is that we again want to do a couple of things. Is that we want to take a look at it from a safety standpoint, make sure that this road gets the improvements that's needed and necessary to improve safety, and we want to be in a position to be able to obtain safety-related grant opportunities that are available. The MPO is a big part of it. Both the MPO and the county are working on this Broward Safety Action Plan that's going to be taking a look at this in close detail. We want to have this funding. There's about $3 million, $2.5 million funding available to start the design or whatever it needs to be done to get us into position for implementation grants that we believe are going to be available, that we believe that we're going to be eligible for next year. So, and again, this is strictly safety related, and I think this is again going to be a very good project for the in the eastern half of the county. So that takes care of some of those other projects. I'm going to get into a couple of our resiliency type projects, which is the mass arm projects. This is a Knob Hill Road mass arm. There's nothing special. It's I shouldn't say that, but there's nothing different about this project than what we have.
It's only special after a hurricane.
I'm sorry?
It's only special after a hurricane when you appreciate it.
Yeah. So M26 is the next one. Is a similar thing on Knob Hill Road. And no change from what our plan was. M27 Sterling Road. The next one is M48 62nd Street. One more is M49 Atlantic Boulevard, Mass Arm. M63 Miramar Parkway. And M64 Oakland Park. So it's again, these projects are all going to be able to help us improve our resiliency going forward into the future. Next group of projects are lighting projects, areas where we don't have lights currently at this point in time, and we're going to be going in and installing LED lights and bring them up to standards and what should be available, again, to improve the safety of the area. L11, L12 on Knob Hill, L13 also on the separate part of Knob Hill Road in the southern portion of it. And those are lighting projects. The next group of projects are minor drainage projects and the sidewalk, road drainage and sidewalks project. These are minor drainage, and typically we would try to do them in conjunction with missing sidewalks at the same time. S13 is on Flamingo Road. S14 is also also on Flamingo Road. 15, there's a lot of areas we were trying to identify areas that are just completely missing sidewalks that we want to make sure that the area is suitable for multimodal access on the roadways. Cypress Creek is S25 is the next project. S15 is Flamingo Road, and then S25 is on Cypress Creek, and we will be doing this project in conjunction with the M48 and I03, that we can work it together in a bundle to become more, just to be more efficient when we do some of these construction. S31 is Riverland Road drainage and missing sidewalks. This is kind of note that to the board is an interesting project. Riverland Road, south of Peters Road, it's a road that's kind of have a multi-agency jurisdiction. Is parts of a small part of it is owned by the state. About the remaining portion of it is more or less shared evenly between the county and the city of Fort Lauderdale. And that's an area that is historically has had a lot of flooding, and there's some finger lakes that on the map that's shown that's heavily tidally influenced in that area. And then with the tidal influence, and then on top of the amount of rain that we have the last couple of years is a area that definitely need drainage improvements. We've been working with the city of Fort Lauderdale. They have also been working on sources of funding for their project, and they've been, we're kind of worked it together that they will have the funding available. And so we want to move up our project and also want to rescope it a little bit to kind of, work together, because the only way it's the same road. It has different jurisdiction, but the jurisdiction really doesn't have that much meaning. You kind of really have to work together, to solve the problem for the entire neighborhood. So this is one that we're going to be working. We're excited to work with the city of Fort Lauderdale to kind of provide the needed drainage relief for the residents and also the motor vehicle passengers that are located that live in that area. So that's that's the last of that group of project. And then the next two is just the school zone improvements. The first one is the construction of a number of schools that are currently in design at this point in time. And then the following group, the ZG25, is the next group of school zones that we want to take a look at and get them ready for the design stage. Okay. So, sorry to have taken so long to gone through all that, but just a quick summary. Most of the projects had no change in the scope of time. There are about 11 projects that saw increases, and there were 3 new projects in the group that I mentioned. 2 of them were for safety, 1 for drainage, and then 1 of them we shifted the cost a little bit. So total impact about $17 million or so. So any questions I can answer for the board?
I only have a comment that you learn something every day of your life, and repaving of roadways is more than just repaving the surface. I mean, we're making safety improvements.
Mhm.
And I didn't really realize that. I'm sure average Joe doesn't. So when they say, oh, we're spending money on asphalt, wait, we're spending on more than just asphalt.
Yeah.
And that's another piece of the puzzle that's good. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, I apologize. Your agenda should have been amended because, as you noted, the Municipal Community Shuttle program was covered in the Broward County Transportation Department area. So we didn't want to be duplicative and have it in both places. So the only thing I'm going to focus on right now is just the municipal surtax projects for fiscal year 2025. And it should take just a moment. I know we're a little bit over our schedule. So I will pause here, let you all take a look at what is planned in fiscal year 2025. There's no change to the previous 5-year plan that you all saw in 2023 during the budget workshop and 5-year plan discussion, except for Cora 102. It's highlighted in blue, right down there, third from the bottom. That project was actually brought into fiscal year 2025 at the city's request because the project is currently in its design phase and the design is expected to be completed the first week of September. The MPO conducted a readiness review of the project, evaluated the design plans, and determined that it was appropriate for the project to move into fiscal year 2025 since it will be ready for construction. And it's a $330,000 construction project. The rest of these projects were already expected in fiscal year 2025. They are all cycle 1 projects. So to your question about where are we with cycle 1, we're still funding the phases, so the cycle one projects that were in planning and design phases were funding their tails is how we refer to them. So in fiscal year 2025, all of those projects are cycle one projects. Are there any questions? Okay, great. I'm going to continue on, Mr. Chair, if that's okay. Excellent. All right. And now we have a new request in the fiscal year 2025 budget. It is a joint request between your support arm, MAP Administration, and the Innovation Unit of the Resilient Environment Department that you heard from earlier. And we are going to collaborate on this. And I'm going to ask Mr. McChesney, who introduced himself a little bit earlier, to talk through the purpose of this budget request. Thanks, Phil.
There we go. Good afternoon again. Phil McChesney, Broward County Innovation Unit. One of the main roles of the Innovation Unit is actually to partner with client agencies throughout Broward County to work with them to develop innovative solutions and to particularly focus on data analytics and visualization. But the 3D video you saw earlier was an example of some of the work utilizing new technologies. This request that you see in front of you is getting into the area of IoT, or Internet of Things, but dealing with sensors. And so we see MAP Broward as kind of one of our particularly sort of high profile collaborators. We work a lot with them regarding data visualization and other projects. We're excited about this because it will ultimately be to develop a plan for placing IoT sensors to reflect real-time impacts upon our roadways and multimodal systems. We're looking at several sensors, focusing initially to detect and for early warning of flooding on roadways that would be utilized to inform emergency personnel in the EOC for first responders, but ultimately could be used to notify the public to allow them to divert their traffic ways in real time as roadways flood. With a lot of sensors, though, they serve multiple purposes. And so a lot of times it's a matter of just turning on additional features on sensors. Other times it's adding sensors to them. And it would be, you could do everything from identify pedestrian traffic and do pedestrian counts at crosswalks. You could identify particularly uptick of emissions or a drop of emissions based on effective transportation. But this is actually collaborating with the resilience unit within the Resilient Environment Department with MAP Broward. We're working with an academic partner that is going to have their fellows program come and put together some analysis and present a recommendation to us at no charge to the county, fully funded by the university. Additionally, the second piece that you see on here is for taking a current 50% position, a PT-19 position, and making that a full-time position for, again, collaborating, working very closely with the Innovation Unit and with MAP Broward, but for transportation-related data visualization and analysis.
So it's 150 plus 87.5.
That's correct. The 150 is for the sensor project, and then the 87.5 is the staffing.
Those lumbers, I assume, are only part of the cost because they're relatively no. We're not 100% funding this out of Surtax, are we?
We're 100% funding this out of Surtax. Yes, we are. The $150,000 for the sensors is a 1-year ask. We expect that we'll be coming back to you with additional requests. And the staff person is currently funded with the Surtax, but at the part-time level. So this is an increase to bring that person to full-time with benefits.
But you did mention you're working with others that have some value, I assume.
I'm sorry. Yes, I understand what you're saying now, Mr. Chair. The in-kind from the university, the value of that will be captured.
That's correct, but there's no funding to support that. The university is fully funding because it benefits them for the learning they achieve for their fellows program. And that includes two faculty members and 4 to 5 students and about 400 man hours of work to do an analysis and present a recommendation to executive leadership.
And these sensors are looking at our streets?
That's correct. The initial intent would be, and I think I saw earlier in the presentation, you saw the mast arms that are being placed at intersections so that they would point downward on the streets. And then in addition, we would be, so you would sense a rise of water or flooding on the roadways. In addition, looking at within the storm sewer catch basins, so you could actually detect rising water prior to the flooding on the streets.
Do they have any ability to indicate crashes?
Not these sensors, but there are others that can, and this is sort of a newer area for us. I mean, it's not new as far as technology goes and innovation, but it's a newer area for us to get in. In fact, Ms. Cassini and I were just talking the other day about a lot of the sensors out there have multiple capabilities, and sometimes it's a matter of, hey, we're just using it for one thing, but there's other features that you can turn on so you're sensing multiple things at the same time. Thank you very much.
Well, if you move to my left, I don't have to look to the right and the left. I guess we're finished. Is that correct? Does anyone else have
Mr. Chair,
anything?
if there aren't any follow-up questions for any of the agencies from the members, if there are no comments from anybody who is participating virtually, then yes, you can adjourn.
We normally ask for comments from the public at the beginning, but do you have any now? Okay, thank you. If not, we're adjourned. It's 2:45. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
It's all moved and seconded.
And we will see you next Friday for the regular meeting at 9:30, same place.